This dragon is absolutely losing its mind over this human's audacity, but our boy stares it down, declaring he is done running. His whole motivation is finding this adorable little slime Puron, so he charges forward with what looks like a wooden stick, and the dragon, being a total drama queen, prepares a magnificent final blow, while the kid can only apologize for failing his friend. Then suddenly a massive pillar of light just erupts from nowhere. Cutting to a flashback of him as a kid, happy with Puron, just two best buds against the world, not a care in sight, making a promise to always stick together, but some sad family drama seems to be brewing in the background, leaving the kid heartbroken and clinging to his only friend, and it looks like he was forced to abandon Puron on some creepy road, apologizing for leaving the little guy all alone. Then he snaps awake back in his classroom, wondering if that whole dragon and flashback combo was just a dream, completely disoriented as his classmates just stare. And of course, the local bullies immediately show up to ruin his day, giving him some real helpful advice about not being F-rank trash before getting right to the point, shaking him down for something. This lead bully, Kasai, gets right in Taishi's face, all chummy and threatening. He clarifies their business model: they pay for requests, so F ranks better not suck. Now he is gleefully deciding on a punishment, complete with sparkly lightning hands. Taishi is just stuck there, about to get a face full of amateur electroshock therapy. Kasai wins up the punch, calling him F-rank trash for good measure. But suddenly a girl named Karin interrupts the beatdown. She reminds him magic is banned in class and threatens to snitch. He is not having it, claiming this is just fair punishment for a failed job. His goons try to stir up drama, mentioning some other dude who confessed to her. Kasai loses his mind, asking if they are dating and threatening to kill them both, a totally normal reaction. He tries to flex his C-rank status, but she is a D-rank who is not impressed. Just as the tension peaks, he slams his hands down on a desk, because the teacher walks in, breaking up the party just in time. This teacher's arrival completely diffuses the whole situation. Kasai shoots them one last "this ain't over" look before backing off. Taishi breathes a sigh of relief, thinking the ordeal is finally done. This teacher calls for attention, completely oblivious to the near murder, and we dive right into a lecture on dungeon history. He asks a question no one can answer, which apparently was the point. Then comes the lore drop: decades ago, dungeons just appeared and changed the world. This teacher explains humanity's new goal: conquer all dungeons and rank up. He calls this grand adventure their destiny, or maybe a curse, whatever. Taishi is just trying to listen when a memory suddenly flashes through his mind. A vision of a mysterious blonde girl with a very knowing smile, and he realizes he has heard those exact words somewhere before. Back in reality, the teacher is still on his motivational speech about their prestigious school. Some genius in the class asks why they do not just go to an SS-rank dungeon to level up fast. And the mention of an SS-rank dungeon makes Taishi's eyes go wide. This rest of the students are totally on board, thinking this is a brilliant shortcut to power. But the teacher just gives them a dead-eyed stare, asking if they have any idea what they are talking about. He then provides a visual aid, a lovely portrait of some very large, very angry dragons. This, he explains, is a top-tier dungeon of death that no one has ever conquered. A place where countless high rankers have failed and they cannot even get past the front door. These students are actually offended, claiming an SS-rank dungeon would be easy for them. So the teacher, in a rank himself, asks if anyone has even been to an S-rank dungeon. At that moment, a hand goes up as Taishi remembers something from his childhood. This whole class turning to stare as he keeps his hand raised. And our boy asks the teacher if his own personal experience counts. Karin, the girl who just saved him, looks over in absolute shock, while Kasai the bully just glares, completely stunned that F-rank trash is speaking up. This teacher's not buying it, asking if he means a field trip with his mom, ouch, and the whole class just erupts, calling him a liar with scrambled memories. They are convinced he is just making it up for attention since he cannot prove it. So Taishi slams his desk, desperately insisting that it is the truth, shouting to the whole room that he really, truly went to an S-rank dungeon. A blonde girl, Akazuki, looks over with some serious concern on her face, while the entire class just silently judges him, the F-rank who spoke up. Kasai, of course, is just stewing in the back, absolutely furious. After that whole disaster of a class, the scene cuts to outside the school. A quick flash of memory shows him as a kid, happy with his slime buddy Puron. Which brings us back to a very lonely-looking Taishi on a park bench. He is clearly just thinking about his lost friend, the whole reason for this mess. Suddenly, Akazuki shows up, asking why he is moping around all by himself. She points out he has been acting weird all day, wondering what is wrong, and Taishi admits some old memories resurfaced, connecting to his classroom outburst. But their heart-to-heart is interrupted by Kasai and his crew here for round 2. This bully gives Akazuki a nasty look, clearly not happy she is there. His goon gets way too close, asking what he is doing with her total intimidation tactics. Then Kasai pulls out a camera with a new request for our boy, challenging him to go back to that S-rank dungeon and bring back proof. Akazuki tries to shut it down, threatening to call a teacher, but Taishi cuts in with a deal. He will go to an SS-rank dungeon for proof if Kasai promises to leave her alone. And she is totally confused, but our boy says he owes her for always saving him. Plus, he has his own reasons for going there anyway. Putting on a brave face, he tells her not to worry about it. Kasai looks down on him, smugly agreeing to the terms. But if Taishi fails, he becomes Kasai's toy for life, a totally normal, well-adjusted threat. With that incredibly creepy deal set, the scene cuts to a sunset. and Teishi is already on his bike, pedaling off to his potential doom. Riding down a lonely forest path straight for the dungeon, his hand grips the handlebar, showing he is not backing down, and finally he arrives at a massive cliff with a dark cave entrance. Looking up, he confirms this is the place he has been searching for, strolling right past a giant no-entry sign because rules are for other people. Inside, the cave is dark with a weird puddle on the ground, so he whips out the camera, calling for Puron while using the light to see. He ventures deeper, still calling out for his lost friend, and a sudden noise makes him jump, thinking he has finally found him, but it is just some weird pink horned dog thing, definitely not a slime. He sits down, asking the creature if it is alone too, wondering if he is too late for Puron. A pretty butterfly flutters by, making the whole Dungeon of Death vibe feel a little less threatening, and Teishi remembers being absolutely terrified of this place as a kid. But now he is thinking it is actually pretty peaceful. Maybe his childhood memories were wrong. He optimistically wonders if Puron is okay, right as some giant monster eyes pop up behind him, perfect timing. This thing is already judging him, calling him a frail human not even worth the entertainment. And then he is immediately launched across the cave floor by an invisible force, getting dragged like a ragdoll at about 100 miles per hour. Before finally coming to a very painful stop on his back, something rushes him from the shadows and he barely has time to react, because he is sent flying again, this time straight up into the air, landing in a clearing as a sinister purple energy fills the entire area. And there is the source, a massive dragon surrounded by purple flames, asking if he can even resist, while Teishi just stares, finally connecting the dots that he is looking at a dragon. This beast flies overhead, laughing at how pathetic he is for even showing up. Then it spots the camera, asking what he possibly hoped to achieve here. Its giant claw slamming down right next to his only proof, looming over our boy while continuing its "you're so weak" monologue, and with a single step it completely crushes the camera into junk. Teishi can only kneel there, watching his one objective get destroyed as the dragon calls him trash, leaving him looking absolutely broken and completely out of options. A memory flashes back, showing him getting bullied and called F-rank trash. But in the present, Teishi grabs a stick, finally declaring his own name, and the dragon's eye widens, genuinely surprised by this sudden backbone, as our boy points his stick and announces he is hunting the dragon, a solid plan. This absolutely delights the beast, who finds the whole situation hilarious. While Teishi stares with pure determination, vowing he will not run anymore, because he is not leaving this place until he finds his friend Puron. He then charges forward, ready to fight a skyscraper-sized lizard with a twig, and the dragon just watches, completely unimpressed by this display of courage. Teishi immediately gets swatted across the ground like a baseball, landing in a heap as the dragon calls him a foolish human, which feels accurate. As a reward for his bravery, the beast prepares to incinerate him with a giant fireball, leaving Teishi to apologize to Puron, accepting his fate. But a massive pillar of light suddenly crashes down from the sky, and he shields his eyes, completely stunned by the divine intervention, staring up at a glowing angelic silhouette that just appeared out of nowhere. This light fades to reveal some other kid in a school uniform just standing there. Then another beam of light comes hurtling down from above, forcing Teishi to cover his face from the blinding flash, and he peeks out, just trying to process who the hell is crashing his death scene. This dragon just faceplants, completely knocked out by that divine intervention, and Teishi is just trying to process what the hell just happened, when the new kid lands without a sound like a total pro. He walks over to the dragon and a little yellow slime just pops out of its head. This slime has an angry little face, looking ready to throw down, and Teishi finally recognizes his long-lost friend Puron. A memory hits him of his first field trip, seeing a slime for the very first time, but back then he was told it was just a boring E-rank monster model. This whole trip was at some monster-themed amusement park, his mom calling him to hurry, because they were there to see a parade with some very enthusiastic performers. Complete with giant pumpkin and cake floats, a real budget was spent here. Little Teishi is having the time of his life with his parents, spotting a beautiful princess on one of the floats, and it is that same mysterious blonde girl from his visions waving at the crowd. This whole thing is a monster parade, and a dragon float is the main event, followed by the majestic King Buffalo and his armored entourage. But little Teishi gets scared, hiding behind his mom, who says they are all just dolls, and right on cue the Buffalo animatronic lets out a massive roar, which absolutely terrifies the poor kid. So much for just dolls. He is now hiding from the dragon float, completely forgetting he thought it was cool 2 seconds ago. Young Teishi is just booking it through the crowd, totally panicked, and immediately crashes right into a little girl in a witch costume. She gives him a piece of her mind about running around like a maniac, so our boy quickly apologizes while she is still on the ground. Oops. This girl just gives him this "seriously, dude" look, completely unimpressed. Turns out this whole field trip was a nightmare because he was terrified of monsters and just ran. He ends up on a forest path, stewing about how much he hates them, and kicking a rock. He wonders if he is just a total coward. This rock just kinda rolls away, offering zero emotional support. At that moment, he realizes he is completely, utterly lost. This kid starts calling for his parents, full-on panic mode setting in, and to make things even better, the sky gets dark and it starts pouring rain, leaving him to huddle in the bushes, absolutely terrified and alone. A single tear forms as the fear really hits him hard. Looking up, he finds himself at the bottom of a massive cliff face in the storm. His only option is to duck into a nearby cave for shelter, which is good because the downpour is getting seriously intense. He is still on edge, peering out from the relative safety of the cave entrance. But despite the scary situation, the inside of the cave feels strangely mystical. So he just stands there, taking in the darkness of the place he just stumbled into. Little Taishi creeps deeper into the cave, already on edge, and then he spots a tiny yellow slime just sitting there. He is actually excited, thinking he has found a real monster up close, but right behind it is the actual monster, a giant bull with glowing red eyes. His face just says, "I have made a terrible, terrible mistake." He recognizes it as King Buffalo, wondering how a parade float got so real. This kid's first instinct is to book it before he is spotted, and this little slime just lets out a cute puroo sound, completely oblivious. As Taishi tries to sneak away, the slime is right there, blocking his exit, so he just apologizes, admitting he is too weak to help it. Meanwhile, King Buffalo is just thinking about lunch, eyeing the slime, and Taishi finally makes a break for it, running deeper into the darkness. His legs are shaking so hard it is a miracle he is even moving, which flashes him back to a museum where he is looking at an exhibit, and it is a model of that same slime on a little pedestal. A plaque calls it a timid and lonely F-rank monster, hitting a little too close to home. Back in the cave, he clenches his fist, his resolve hardening, just as the buffalo opens its giant mouth to chomp down on the slime. Taishi dives in, shielding the little guy with his own body. This monster just stares, completely baffled to find a human kid on the menu. This slime is actually talking to him, asking why a weak kid would ever fight a monster. So Taishi figures if they are both scared and weak, there is only one logical next step, which is to grab the little guy and just book it out of there. And that is how he managed to escape the cave with his new friend Purun. Even he does not really get why he did it, facing down the monster he feared most. But something inside him just could not bring himself to abandon the little slime. This little guy can only say one thing over and over, Purun. So Taishi just rolls with it, officially naming him on the spot. He promises they will make a contract and be together forever right before his mom finds him, and his parents immediately shut that down, explaining it is illegal and he is too young for contracts anyway. This verdict is in, take the slime back where you found it, kid. His parents watch him go, deciding this is a great learning experience for him. So Taishi has to break the news to Purun, apologizing that he cannot keep his promise. He just leaves the little guy on the ground in the middle of the rainy forest, offering him a piece of bread as a parting gift, a real consolation prize. Purun, being a simple creature, is just thrilled to get a snack, while Taishi apologizes again, blaming his own weakness for having to leave. But Purun does not seem to hold a grudge, just giving him a happy little smile, which absolutely breaks our boy, who tearfully promises to get stronger and come back for him. And the last thing he saw was that smile as he walked away, leaving his first friend behind, and all he remembered was walking away, leaving Purun alone at that cave entrance. A cave he'd later learn was an S-rank dungeon, a perfectly safe spot for a lost child. For 6 long years, he stayed weak, bullied, and powerless to keep his promise. This only one who changed was Purun, who apparently spent that time becoming a dragon. Back in the present, Taishi is just so relieved, hugging his friend after all this time, and he apologizes for being so late, absolutely wrecked with guilt. Purun, however, is just happy, yelling its name like nothing ever happened. That is when Taishi looks at the knocked-out dragon, finally putting 2 and 2 together. He cannot believe it, his little slime friend got this strong while he is still a nobody. This little guy just gives him a happy nuzzle, completely unbothered by the power gap. It hops onto his shoulder and Taishi asks if it is trying to form a contract. He has to break the bad news again, reminding Purun he still cannot do it. But the slime just shouts its name and suddenly Taishi starts to glow. His hair flashes orange as a system window materializes right in front of him. He is totally stunned, staring at this glowing orange screen that just appeared out of thin air. It is a contract asking if he wants to inherit Purun's abilities. This kid is just trying to process this absolutely insane offer out loud, literally floating in the air as the system finalizes the proposal. This screen just hangs there waiting for his choice, yes or no, and he just stares, realizing he is about to get a god-tier power-up from a slime. Purun just floats there, looking way too confident for a blob of goo. And Taishi glances back, a little bit stunned by the offer, but a small smile creeps across his face. He has made his choice. Without a second thought, his finger slams down on yes, and the world just explodes in a pillar of golden light. Our boy is just screaming, getting absolutely blasted by this power-up, his feet finally touching solid ground again as the light show dies down. He is just standing there feeling exactly the same, and a quick self-pat-down confirms it. Nothing seems different at all. Then a sudden, horrible thought hits him right in the face. He remembers a teacher's lecture, you cannot contract with a higher-ranked monster. So it failed, he thinks, because he is still just a weakling. But right on cue, Purun pops back onto his head, totally unbothered. Taishi apologizes again, still convinced the contract was a bust, while Purun has other plans, wrapping around his eyes like a weird, gooey visor, which sends Taishi tumbling backward onto the ground in surprise. He looks up to see the slime has split in 2, asking what the hell it just did, because his eyes are now seeing things a little differently. A system window pops into his vision, displaying Purun's full stat sheet, and he just stares because his slime is level 777 and SSS class. With his new slime goggles, Taishi's vision is a little different, letting him see the dragon's full stat sheet, a respectable level 246. This confirms Puron is way stronger, which is a wild thought to process. Puron, meanwhile, is drooling with a look of intense purpose, and Teishi connects the dots. His little buddy wants to eat the giant lizard. He has heard of monster meat being sold, but a whole dragon is a bit much for takeout. Then he remembers a little something called transcendent storage on Puron's skill list. Wondering if he can use it, he tells Puron to just store the whole dragon. This slime just swallows the entire thing whole, taking Teishi for a little float trip in the process. And just like that, the dragon is gone, leaving our boy completely stunned. He's just celebrating this absolute win, lifting his overpowered slime friend into the air. Finally reunited, he decides they have got all the time in the world to catch up, even asking if Puron remembers the bread, admitting he thought of him all these years. As they head home, still chatting about that fateful snack, Puron suddenly goes rigid on his shoulder, sensing something is very wrong. A massive spider monster crashes down right in their path, ending the wholesome moment. This thing is all teeth and red eyes, looking like pure nightmare fuel. It towers over them as Teishi hits the dirt, shocked by the ambush. But our boy gets back on his feet, his eyes glowing as he activates his new vision. Getting a clear read on the queen spider, who seems to have a person trapped in its chest, Puron immediately turns into a cushion, catching Teishi mid-fall. As the spider's leg comes down like a goddamn spear, and our little slime friend just zips out of the way, dodging every single strike. So the spider switches tactics, firing a nasty-looking purple beam, which splashes right next to them, confirming it is some kind of poison. This stuff is so potent it is literally melting the rock around them, and Teishi is just trying to process how they are supposed to fight this thing. He is realizing it has got deadly poison, a wide attack range, and it is way too fast. But Puron just pops up, ready for round 2, looking totally confident. It launches itself like a golden cannonball straight at the spider's face, and Teishi helpfully points out the obvious: its weakness is the head. This spider just gives this smug little smirk like it has heard that one before, then opens its mouth to spit a glob of that rock-melting poison, which hits Puron dead on, covering it in the purple goo. For a second, it actually looks like it is in trouble, eyes spinning. This spider queen looks so damn pleased with itself, thinking it is one, but then a flash of golden light blasts right back at its face. This attack slices right through its armored body, taking it completely by surprise. Teishi's hair is orange again, and Puron has morphed into a blade on his arm, and it finally clicks: the contract did not fail after all. This spider queen claims she understands him now, a little late for that, and Teishi returns the favor, knowing exactly how to finish this. With the battle over, he just stands there, soaking in the win. He tells Puron it was a perfect victory, finally ready to head home together, so they bike through the quiet streets, Puron chilling in the front basket. It is a peaceful ride back to his apartment, where he proudly announces their arrival: this is home. He is all smiles, ready to show his friend inside, until his face just completely falls in horror, because his room is a certified disaster zone and he has just remembered. An immediate panic clean starts as he begs Puron for just a minute. On his desk are a ton of slime books, guess he's been studying up. Puron, however, is just happy to be there, mess or no mess. Then its eyes go wide, spotting something on a shelf, a small memorial with pictures of his family. Teishi quietly lights some incense for them, placing it carefully in front of the photos. He explains his parents passed away and he has been living alone, but he cheers right up, declaring that from now on he has got Puron. Right on cue, a stomach growls and Teishi asks if his buddy is hungry. Teishi heads to the fridge, desperately hoping for some food, but inside is a wasteland of sadness, just mayo and 2 eggs. His living expenses are completely shot, leaving him wondering how they will eat. Puron, however, pops up looking like it has an SSS-class solution, and promptly poofs into an adorable tiny golden dragon. This gives Teishi an idea, asking if it can turn into the black dragon, which triggers a memory of Puron swallowing the massive beast whole. Our boy is just blown away, remembering the sheer power of his little friend. Then a light bulb goes off, monster meat is edible, and they have a 5-star meal in storage. Immediately, he asks Puron how to get the dragon meat out of that pocket dimension. He considers the command release storage, thinking it through for a second, and has a brief, horrifying vision of his apartment getting flattened by a dragon corpse. Panicking, he clarifies, just a little piece for one meal, not the whole thing. Right on cue, a prime cut of dragon tail appears on the floor, and while Teishi is skeptical, Puron looks absolutely sure of its gourmet takeout. Steeling himself, he heads to the kitchen, ready to cook dragon for the very first time. This only question is whether to grill it or steam it, a true culinary crisis. With a confident chop, he tries to slice into the armored hide, and the knife just snaps clean in half, which is not a great sign. Teishi is left completely speechless, holding a useless handle. It finally dawns on him: you cannot carve an SS-class monster with a butter knife. And he is still processing how his little slime one-shotted that thing. Puron, meanwhile, is just wiggling with intense purpose on the floor, so Teishi gives up, asking the slime to just prepare the meat itself. A little while later, back in the apartment, Puron has somehow prepared a full-course dragon meat dinner, and Teishi gives thanks for the meal, telling his buddy to dig in. This little guy is practically vibrating with hunger, eyeing the main course. Then it just unleashes its tentacles and yoinks the entire spread, which vanishes in a single terrifying gulp. Teishi is just losing it because it ate the damn plates too, while the slime just sits there looking extremely full and not at all sorry. He cannot believe it is still hungry, offering to make a second round, so he goes back to the kitchen, preparing an even bigger mountain of food. which of course gets inhaled in less than a second. And our boy is at his wit's end, asking if that bottomless pit is still asterisk hungry. Alright, fine, he is going all in, promising to cook a ridiculous amount this time, delivering a glowing mountain of food, asking if asterisk this is finally enough. Hours pass and his horrified screams can probably be heard across town, because this little slime has been eating nonstop until sunrise. This next morning, Taishi's already dreading the food budget for his pet black hole. But he decides it is totally worth it just to have Puron back. This whole thing still feels like a dream, like he has finally got family again, and he makes a promise to his little slime buddy they are gonna be happy. But then reality crashes the party. It is a school day. Suddenly a memory of some smug blonde guy hits him with a threat, and that thought just stops him cold. He is remembering getting pushed around at school over some failed request. Not wanting Puron to see him like this, he decides to go to school by himself. But of course, Puron is not having any of that and just pops onto his shoulder. Our boy tries to compromise, offering dragon meat breakfast if Puron stays home, which is met with pure unadulterated slime rage. Taishi keeps trying to reason with it, but the little guy is not backing down, so Puron pulls out the ultimate weapon, the waterworks. This guilt trip works instantly. Taishi caves but asks for a promise. So off to school they go, a human and his contraband slime. Taishi walks onto campus, trying his best to blend in, giving his backpack a little reminder, stay hidden until we get home. Just then, the same blonde jerk from his flashback grabs him from behind, and his whole crew is there, telling Taishi it is time to check on that promise. And Taishi immediately gets slammed right into the wall. This blonde jerk, Shouta, and his crew have him cornered, saying they have been waiting. He is sarcastically asking if our boy had fun in the SS-Rank dungeon. What a pal. Taishi just kneels there, wondering if this whole ambush is just for that. But he plays along, saying that yeah, he was happy, all thanks to him. This kid's got a spine now, looking Shouta dead in the eye with a thank you. Shouta's buddies are not impressed, reminding him he is in no position to be lippy. Then the real reason comes out. He wants the footage Taishi was supposed to film. Our boy just stands there, completely trapped, when a memory of a giant dragon foot flashes through his mind. A memory of it crushing the very expensive camera he was given. It finally clicks and he realizes with pure horror that he forgot. His brain is just a loop of I am broke, while Shouta thinks he is being ignored. So the bully loses his temper, his hand glowing as he lunges forward. But a tiny, angry protector pops out from behind Taishi's shoulder, leaving Shouta completely baffled, asking if that is the weakest monster, a slime. His goons just assume Taishi is trying to provoke him on purpose. Shouta is absolutely losing it, convinced he is being made fun of. Puron, however, is radiating some serious you picked the wrong house energy. And as the attack comes flying, our little slime is ready to throw down. Shouta's goons get blasted back, wondering when their boss got this strong. But Taishi just calls them idiots because that is obviously not Shouta's power. And with an angry Puron on his shoulder, he declares the power is his. This bully is absolutely floored, barely managing to stammer out Taishi's name, while his crew rushes over to check on him, but he is just staring in disbelief. That look in his eyes is pure, unadulterated shock, because in his mind, Taishi now towers over him like a giant. His loyal goons, however, decide to attack again, calling Taishi a weakling. So Taishi takes a single, deliberate step to meet their charge, effortlessly blocking a punch from the first guy, then grabs both of them by the head, telling them he is busy with their boss. He gives them a very simple choice, stay quiet or get beaten to death. And just like that, his two cronies are on the ground, completely neutralized. This little scene, of course, is starting to attract an audience, with a blonde girl in the crowd wondering why there is drama this early. This whole courtyard can see it now, one guy standing, three bullies on the floor. Looking down at them, Taishi finally understands what this feels like. He just stares at his own hands, processing this newfound strength. A dark smile creeps onto his face as he gets why they did it, that feeling of superiority. Shouta can only kneel there, completely powerless against his former punching bag. Taishi, radiating pure main character energy, offers one last chance to apologize, and then tells the bully to beg for his life, a real class act. Shouta, of course, is not about to grovel and just gets angrier, his hand crackling with power as he grabs Taishi's wrist, ready to retaliate. This bully charges forward, screaming about Taishi getting too big for his britches, but our boy just smirks, saying this is way more fun. Suddenly, the blonde girl from the crowd rushes in to stop Taishi from going full villain, putting a hand on his chest to halt his rampage. Our boy is just stunned for a second, completely caught off guard, and in that moment of hesitation, she gets a nasty cut on her arm. That is the final straw for Puron, who launches itself like a very angry missile, and the slime just engulfs Shouta in a gooey tackle. Problem solved. Just like that, the entire bully squad is down for the count. Shouta can only reach out, weakly calling the girl's name, Akazuki. Akazuki kneels, pleading with Taishi not to become like them, reminding him he is a kind person despite the fresh wound on her arm. Her words finally snap him out of his power trip and he looks down, horrified. Looking around, he sees the other students staring, realizing he has become the monster, and admits to himself he was enjoying the violence, with Puron looking concerned. He apologizes and tells Akazuki to see the nurse, but she just wants to get back to class. Shouda's still screaming threats from the floor, a real tough guy, but Taishi just turns his back on the whole mess walking into the rain, and then he mutters a single ominous word, seal. Suddenly, Shouda's wrapped in glowing chains, completely paralyzed, and he cannot feel his power at all, just kneeling there in total shock. His cronies are just as baffled, wondering what happened to their boss. Taishi explains from off-screen that he has sealed the bullies' powers for good. Then, with a terrifying aura, he gives them an ultimatum, find him to get unnerved. This whole crew just stares up, absolutely terrified of their former victim, and all you can hear is Shouda's pathetic screaming into the storm, while Taishi walks away, noticing his uniform is ripped from the fight. Akazuki points it out, but he just says it does not matter anymore. Because he is dropping out of school, effective immediately, he gives her a final thank you before turning to leave for good. Some time passes and it is another sunny day at the now Taishi-less school, where our boy is at the office, officially filing his withdrawal papers. This administrator looks a little concerned, but Taishi's mind is made up. Of course, the school gossip mill is already churning, blaming Shouda's crew. And speaking of the bullies, they are just sitting in class looking completely broken. Shouda just clenches his fist, stewing in his own powerless rage. Shouda's still fuming in class, completely powerless and loving it. Meanwhile, Taishi's walking the school grounds one last time when he suddenly spots a familiar face. It is Akazuki, the girl who stepped in during the fight. He immediately asks about her arm, but she says it is all treated. Our boy's still feeling super guilty, trying to apologize again, but she just smiles, telling him to stop worrying about it. She then asks why he is even here, bringing up the withdrawal, and he just says the process was easy, almost like they wanted him gone. Akazuki tries to convince him to stay, asking if he really has to leave, but he explains that with his new power, he is a danger to everyone. Staying would just be selfish, he needs to become a proper ranker to learn control. She is worried he will be all alone on this new path, but he has got his trusty slime sidekick, so do not worry, and she finally gets it, the slime is his whole support system. Puron, of course, has no idea what is going on, just looking grumpy, so she decides to support his choice, telling him she is rooting for him. Taishi thanks her, promising to repay her kindness someday, and she just gives him this knowing little smile, then asks for his number because of course she does. He gets her number and she tells him to call if he needs anything. Then she waves goodbye, promising they will meet again. And literally 1 second later his phone is already ringing. It is her, reminding him to save the number and repay that kindness. Our boy just agrees, completely out of his depth here. On the call, she drops a bomb. She knew he went to the SS-Rank dungeon all along. Taishi is just frozen, trying to process how she could possibly know that. Turns out Akazuki is the heir to a massive corporation and a model, casual stuff. He is just thinking she is the popular girl, totally out of his league. But after all that, he is starting to think maybe their worlds are not so different. Puron, meanwhile, is just along for this emotional roller coaster. Back in her chauffeured car, Akazuki looks at her phone and makes another call right away. She is on the phone asking about her mom, who is apparently doing fine. This person on the other end tells her not to worry, that things will get better. Akazuki just quietly takes it all in, before putting on a brave face and saying she believes it. Taishi, back on the street, tells Puron it is time to figure out their future. Now that he has dropped out, a part-time job just is not going to cut it anymore. His first order of business, asking his slime if it is hungry, priorities, man. With his last bit of cash, he decides to treat Puron to a nice meal. So they walk into a cozy little sushi joint, where the chef welcomes him to the counter. Taishi asks for a big table for two, claiming his slime has a huge appetite, and a little while later the chef steps outside to hang a sign saying they are out of ingredients because they ate everything. Walking away, Taishi is just glad his little buddy is full, until he checks his bank account and sees he is completely broke. He tells Puron they need to start making some serious money. His eyes filled with a new kind of determination. His only option now is the Dungeon Association, so he heads straight for the local branch building. Inside, he is surprised to find the place is totally empty, and he cautiously approaches the information desk. Our boy nervously gets the receptionist's attention, who turns out to be this very chill, very bald dude. This whole lobby is just dead silent, making this even more awkward. This guy asks how he can help, looking friendly enough. But Taishi is thinking he looks more like a high-level security guard. Then the receptionist cracks his knuckles, yep, definitely a security guard. This guy plays it off, claiming he was just swatting a gnat, a likely story, and with a very suspicious side-eye he asks what Taishi wants. Our boy nervously says he is here to sell something, with Puron looking grumpy. Just as he mentions hunting the black, a news report warns about ranker robberies. Explaining the government is cracking down on low rankers selling high-level loot, Taishi immediately realizes this is exactly his situation. He is so busted. This receptionist looms over him, asking what he wants to sell, and the pressure is on. Our boy is sweating bullets, trying to think of a way out of this mess. When a sudden flash of determination hits him as he comes up with a new plan, he slaps down a document on the counter. And in a brilliant pivot says he is here to sell himself for a quest. This receptionist asks his rank, and Taishi has to admit he is just an F rank. That gets him shut down immediately. F rankers are for volunteer work only, but Taishi knows volunteering will not cover his and Puron's living expenses, so he just goes for it, demanding a B rank quest or higher. This receptionist is just stunned, like, "Excuse me, a what now?" Taishi is all smiles, confident he and his friend can handle it. This guy is just not buying a single word of this kid's pitch, then asks if this legendary friend is the slime on his shoulder. Teishi proudly confirms it is Puron, saying together they are unstoppable. Puron puffs out its chest, ready for action, the baddest slime on the block, but the receptionist is still skeptical, pointing out the absurdity of their plan. So Teishi just hits him with the full tragic backstory: no parents, no school, just broke. And that one word, money, seems to flip a switch in this guy's head. Our boy just staring back, completely serious about his desperate plea. Suddenly, the receptionist claps his hands together like he has seen the light and starts weeping over Teishi's incredibly admirable sob story. This guy launches into a whole speech about passion and helping rankers achieve their dreams, still wiping away a single manly tear for our boy's plight. Then with a dramatic slam, he announces he has the perfect B-rank quest. Explaining it is a simple gathering mission for mana grass, no monster fighting required. This pay is insane too, 4,000 yen a pop for some magical weeds, and Teishi realizes one good haul could solve all his money problems for months. To make it even easier, the guy offers him a map of safe spots, totally not a trap. Our boy is just overwhelmed, thanking him profusely for this incredible kindness. This receptionist, Goichi, even gives him his personal contact info, and as they walk away, Teishi's feeling pretty good about this whole deal. Goichi just watches them go, finding the whole Franken slime combo very interesting, and that is the end of the chapter, setting up our boy's first real job. With the next day dawning bright and clear, full of dangerous possibilities, Teishi steps into the B-rank dungeon, ready for his first big payday. And he immediately pulls up the safe spot map Goichi gave him, feeling pretty good about his chances in this new territory, because with this handy guide the job should be a total cakewalk. He spots some glowing dungeon flowers along the path, which apparently light up when you feed them magic, a neat little trick. But he is here for the mana grass and his appraisal skill is the key. So he fires up the skill, scanning the entire area for the good stuff. When a sudden scream rips through the quiet forest, Teishi whips around, trying to pinpoint the source of the sound, and sees someone falling straight out of a tree. Thinking fast, he yells for his trusty sidekick Puron, who immediately launches into action like a gooey yellow missile. Puron transforms into the Supreme Cushion, a 5-star landing pad, though the landing itself is a little smothering. He runs over to check on the person, wondering why anyone was climbing trees in a dungeon. Who thanks him for the save, then seems shocked that her rescuer is a guy. Our boy just wants to know what in the world she was doing up there, and she explains she was risking her life for a single magic stone, which has Teishi totally baffled since mana grass is way more valuable here. She explains her neat strategy is just avoiding people, which is why she hunts unpopular stones, and Teishi is just silently judging her entire life philosophy, Puron included. As thanks, she offers him the rock, but he clarifies they are here for mana grass, which gets her excited. She knows a spot and points the way. He asks how much is there, hoping for at least 10 stalks to make this trip worthwhile, but she casually mentions there are several hundred asterisk stalks, a literal field of money. This is the jackpot, a glowing sea of green that could solve everything. Our boy is practically vibrating with greed, demanding she show him the way immediately. She says it is in a cave in some unknown territory, which does not sound like a trap at all. So Teishi is ready to run, but she quickly clarifies she meant the forest asterisk around the cave. Apparently the cave itself is a death trap filled with crazy strong monsters. But he just flashes a confident smile, completely ignoring the you will die part. Then he just drags his new friend Nitsan along for the ride because why not? They make their way through the lush, sunlit part of the dungeon, pushing through the undergrowth to find their destination. Upon finding the cave, she is still begging him not to go in, but Teishi just gives Puron the signal to get to work. This little slime stretches up, ready to unleash its special move, and then shoots off like a golden arrow straight into the darkness, illuminating the spooky cave entrance with its light. A blood-curdling scream immediately echoes from the cave. Teishi, completely unfazed, just tells Nitsan to follow him in. So they step into the darkness, one brave, one regretting every life choice. She is already complaining this is way too much effort for a professional shut-in, and then she screams again because of course she does. They find a dead C-rank monster just lying there, which has her wondering what could possibly be stronger than that. Turns out the answer is whatever killed this entire menagerie. Our boy just says Puron is guiding them, a path of carnage being the new GPS. When suddenly the whole place starts to shake violently, as the cave ceiling begins to crumble down around them. A single glowing eye appears in the shadows, a B-rank stone golem, and the monster pulls itself right out of the cave wall, looking very unfriendly. It immediately attacks, so Teishi shoves his new friend to safety, wondering how his slime scout could have missed a literal walking mountain. He tells Nitsan to find cover while he handles this little problem. But she is obviously freaking out, yelling that he is going to die. Teishi ignores her, charging straight at the B-rank behemoth, deciding a head-on assault is the only way to go. Zero plan, all guts. Then he calls for Puron, ready to throw down with his trusty slime. This golem looms over him, all glowing eyes and bad intentions, when Puron just yeets itself straight into the monster's face. Teishi gets covered in slime, which apparently was the entire battle plan. And it works, the golem's head just cracks wide open, before the whole thing crumbles into a B-rank pile of rubble. Nitsan rushes over, worried sick, while Teishi just confirms he is fine, just gooey. He gives Puron a quick thank you, the slime looking incredibly proud of itself. His new friend is just having a full-on meltdown, trying to process how they one-shot a golem. Teishi pivots, complimenting her monster knowledge, which is a weird thing to say right now. She starts to explain her whole deal, looking away shyly. crying that her neat lifestyle requires knowing monster weaknesses to survive. But Teishi has the attention span of a gnat and is already pointing out plants to Puron. They just walk off, completely ignoring her emotional backstory to find the grass. That is when she sees his stats, level 777, SSS rank, and her brain just short circuits. She calls it amazing luck, but Teishi hits her with the power of friendship speech. Explaining their bond is what makes Puron so strong, a truly touching moment. Nitsan is totally inspired, cheering them on while Teishi tells her not to bother. Suddenly, Puron gets a serious look on its face, sensing something nearby, and it looks like the little guy has found their target. They run over the hill to find it, an entire field of glowing mana grass. They are stunned to find not just hundreds but thousands asterisk of stalks. And Nitsan immediately makes a money angel in the field of cash. While Teishi just gets to work packing what he needs into his bag, he tells her they have got enough, which completely short-circuits her brain, because who in their right mind would leave a literal goldmine sitting here? Suddenly, our boy gets a conscience, worrying about the dungeon's delicate ecosystem, and tells her to only take what she needs, no greed allowed on this trip. She is just staring, completely starstruck by his sudden noble attitude, praising his thoughtfulness as he just tries to get them moving. Just as she is about to ask him to team up, a giant boar monster crashes the party, and this thing is charging straight for her, tusks out and ready to kill. It is a blur of pure rage coming right at them, so Teishi screams her name, reaching out to help, when the boar suddenly stands up, transforming into a full-blown orc bog. Our boy just calmly raises a hand, gathering some rocks with his magic, and clenches his fist, ready for a very simple one-punch solution. This orc bog barely has time to register what is happening, before getting absolutely rocked by an invisible force to the face. A flurry of impacts hits it all at once like a shotgun blast, sending the monster flying off the cliff like a total ragdoll. Teishi catches his breath, the one-punch solution taking a little out of him. And we get a quick glimpse of the alternative, Nitsan getting straight-up eaten. But Puron swooped in for the save, becoming a last-second landing pad, and she is completely disoriented, having no idea she was just inside the monster's mouth. Our boy is just relieved he was not a second too late, totally drained from the save. He gets super serious, realizing she was moments away from being monster chow. So she tries to lighten the mood, telling him not to worry since she is fine, this time asterisk. But Teishi drops a bombshell saying he does not want to lose someone important, which leaves Nitsan just frozen, completely floored by the sudden emotional weight. She immediately launches herself at him for a hug, vowing to protect his precious people, while he immediately backpedals, insisting he was not talking about her specifically. With the near-death experience handled, it is time to cash in at the Dungeon Association. They step inside and someone immediately calls out his name from the lobby. But it is just Nitsan whose social anxiety is kicking in hard around all these people. They are greeted at the counter by a very large, very bald association employee. So Teishi reports his success, introducing his new helper, who is internally calling the guy a monster. This clerk leans in, asking just how much mana grass they actually managed to find, and he is completely stunned by the haul, wondering how they did it so fast. He immediately guesses they hit the infamous B-rank cave, which Teishi casually confirms. So the guy asks about the Boar King and Teishi just grins, asking if he wants to buy the corpse too. This clerk is floored by the one-shot, but Nitsan's mad he is selling Puron's dinner. And he asks for confirmation since that means they conquered a B-rank dungeon. Nitsan proudly hypes them up while Teishi tries to downplay the whole thing, even giving a little stop at you wave. As his new friend celebrates their massive payday right there at the counter, this clerk is deeply suspicious, wondering how an F-rank kid and a slime beat B-rank monsters, and he just stares out at the lobby, trying to figure out who the hell they are. Then the payment hits their phones and both of them are absolutely stunned by the number. It is a top 5 payout and Teishi's big plan is to pay rent and feed his slime. This clerk is impressed by his humble goals, promising to keep him in mind for future jobs. They leave the association with Nitsan still doing a victory dance down the hall. And watching them go, the clerk knows he has just found his new favorite cash cow. This day winds down as they finally step outside into the sun. Nitsan thanks him, getting all emotional about how he has changed her life. Explaining she has had a full-on epiphany, deciding to stop being a shut-in and live for herself. Teishi gives a supportive thumbs up as she vows to become as cool as them, waving goodbye with a promise to be a whole new person when they team up again. Our boy reflects on how Puron has brought him good things too, ready for their next move. He leans in to tell Puron the plan. First, they pay off all their bills. And then they are going shopping, a well-deserved reward for our heroes. First stop on the victory tour is a massive store for some essentials, followed by a full-on shopping montage complete with a dapper slime. They then press their faces against a bakery window, drooling over cakes. And back home, Teishi immediately sets his new frying pan on fire, a master chef in the making. After that culinary disaster, it is time for a nice, relaxing bath. And our boy is finally getting a moment to just unwind from all the monster slaying. He is loving every second of it, with Puron and a rubber ducky for company, even checking in on his slime, who is clearly living its best life right now. But the good mood suddenly vanishes, as he starts worrying about the trouble he caused and how Nitsan is doing. Puron, the ultimate wing slime, just tells him to call her already, so he gets out of the bath, suddenly a bundle of nerves. Wondering if it is actually okay to reach out to her now. Our boy starts overthinking everything, even though she told him to call anytime. Deciding a call is too much, so maybe an email is safer, peaks social courage. Just then, his phone starts buzzing on the table. And of course, it is Nitsan calling him, saving him from his own anxiety. He nervously answers, trying to play it cool while she asks if he is doing well. And Teishi says he is fine, turning the question right back at her. But she replies that she is okay, except, and leaves him hanging. But it is not Nitsan, it is another girl, a Kazuki, calling to check in on him. And Teishi explains his new plan is to just grind quests for money. She says she is fine, then brings up some guy from school named Kasai, which immediately sours Teishi's mood, calling the guy disgusting for complaining about his skills. Puron, meanwhile, looks incredibly smug, knowing that Jerk got what he deserved. Kazuki agrees he is hopeless, vowing to make sure he gets properly punished. Our boy senses there is more to this call, asking if something else is on her mind. Then the conversation takes a hard left as she asks about his parents' accident. She wonders if it was painful for him, which is a super casual question to drop on someone. He quietly admits that yeah, remembering that time still hurts a lot. Kazuki immediately backpedals, apologizing for asking something so personal. But Teishi turns it into a moment of strength, vowing to live happily for them with his new friends. His answer leaves her completely flustered and touched, thanking him for being so open. He wraps up the call, promising to get in touch with her again soon. And the second she hangs up, we see where she really is, sitting by a bed in a sterile, quiet hospital room. Back in his apartment, Teishi is just staring into space, feeling uneasy. He asks Puron if it felt that too, a strange vibe coming from a Kazuki at the end. This little slime looks up, sharing his concern completely. Teishi clutches his phone, wanting to help but now wondering if he is just overthinking things. Even Puron is getting nervous as the phone continues to buzz, and Teishi is still processing that strange call, a little shaken. This next day, we cut to his old high school, which is never a good sign. Because Teishi's been summoned to the principal's office with Puron in tow. Apparently, the meeting is to discuss his voluntary withdrawal from school. This second he steps inside, the gossip mill starts turning his name, with rumors flying about him beating Kasa's gang and clearing a B-rank dungeon. Inside, the principal greets him, saying he has heard a lot about him, yeah, no kidding, and the big bombshell. The principal wants to cancel his withdrawal immediately. Leaving our boy completely blindsided by this sudden 180. It seems that Kazuki told the principal the real reason he was forced to quit. So another teacher has the nerve to ask why he did not report the bullying, conveniently forgetting Teishi already did. Now the principal is all business, promising to fix the problem he ignored for months, even offering a special arrangement where Teishi can just do dungeon work and skip class. Teishi realizes the school knows about his new job and Puron looks ready to fight somebody. Then the principal gets down to brass tacks, asking why he hid his power and what his next big score is. He is practically begging now, telling Teishi to please stay as a student of their asterisk school, and Teishi finally gets it. This is not an apology, they just want to cash in on his newfound fame. But our boy shuts them down cold, saying thanks but no thanks, he has got a new life now. This principal's brilliant takeaway is that his emotional wounds are deep, not that the school is a dumpster fire. A teacher ushers in Kasai's gang, announcing they have something to say, and our boy just glares, recognizing his old tormentor instantly. Kasai stammers out a weak greeting, clearly not thrilled to be here, while the principal just sits back, enjoying the show he orchestrated. This whole gang bows in a super dramatic apology, begging for forgiveness, total theater. Teishi's reaction is just a blank, unimpressed stare, so the principal tries to guilt him, asking him to be manly and accept their apology. He even offers to punish the teacher who covered it all up, promising to build Teishi's dream school. But the real pitch comes out, Teishi just has to be their school's pride and joy. For a second, Teishi actually considers it, thinking this might be the school life he always wanted, his eyes narrowing as he weighs the incredibly slimy offer. But down on his lap, Puron is having absolutely none of this. This little slime is radiating pure bloodlust, looking ready for a fight, because in its mind, these groveling adults are no different from dungeon monsters. Teishi pats his slime to calm it down, telling the room he will consider it. Then he just gets up and walks out, leaving the faculty completely stunned. This principal scoffs as the other teacher uselessly calls after him. And from the doorway, Cassett just mutters, "That bastard," proving the apology was worthless. Teishi walks down the hall, calling out to his furious little slime, gently telling Puron to calm down, assuring it that everything's okay now. Teishi tells Puron he is finally letting go of his attachment to this school. But just then, Akazuki comes running down the hall to catch him, and he is a little surprised to see her there. They head outside to talk, away from the school's prying eyes, where she is just glad the whole withdrawal mess is sorted out thanks to her. She asks why he is not thrilled, and he admits he is not sure coming back is the right move, but she insists graduating is what is best for his future. Then she drops a bomb, saying she wants to spend her school life with him, which sends our boy's brain into full-on "is this a confession?" panic mode. He is trying to play it cool while her phone suddenly starts buzzing. And as she answers, he is still wondering if she likes him in a special way, but her expression completely changes while she is on the call, because she hangs up and just bolts without another word. Teishi is left totally bewildered on the bench as she runs off, sprinting across the schoolyard like her life depends on it. Realizing something is seriously wrong, he immediately gives chase, and her destination is a place he is starting to dread, the hospital. Inside, he finds her standing with a bunch of cops and men in suits. A grim crowd gathered outside one of the rooms. Akazuki is with a serious-looking man and the tension is absolutely suffocating. Inside, Akazuki collapses to the floor screaming for her mom, and Teishi just watches with Purun totally out of his depth here, now sitting with her dad who asks if he was in Karin's class. Our boy confirms they were but mentions he already quit school. Realizing this guy is a famous corporate chairman he has only seen on the news. This chairman thanks him for being her friend, then launches into a whole "I am a terrible father" monologue, but Teishi pushes back saying Akazuki was the one who always took care of him. Her dad explains she used to be a bright kid before her mother got sick, and he blames himself completely for her sadness. He is just drowning in regret, admitting he used work as an excuse to be absent. So Teishi gently asks just how bad her mom's condition really is. This answer is absolutely brutal. The doctor told them to prepare for the worst, and even with all his money, there is nothing more he can do. Teishi is just silent, the full weight of the situation finally hitting him, opening up about his own parents and that same feeling of total helplessness. That is when he remembers something Akazuki once told him, flashing back to her asking him to study for exams together. He admits to her dad that she was the real genius, always #1 in class, and she'd suggested they compete with their scores as a friendly challenge, explaining that her words were what kept him moving forward. Teishi tells her dad he is determined to help Akazuki now, and the chairman is just relieved she has such a good friend, hoping he stays true. An assistant pops in to remind the chairman about an online meeting because of course. This guy apologizes for having to work even now, a classic rich dad move. Before leaving, he asks Teishi to stay by his daughter's side for a while. Our boy snaps to attention, agreeing immediately while thinking father-in-law. Dude, read the room. Instantly he panics, realizing he almost said that out loud in a hospital asterisk. Meanwhile, the heart monitor just keeps beeping, a grim reminder of the stakes. Teishi and Purun peek cautiously into the room. Seeing Akazuki sitting alone by her mother's bedside. Back in the hall, he sits down, the weight of it all sinking in. Purun asks if there is a way to heal her, and Teishi feels like there might be one last hope. His one thought is repaying the kindness she has shown him, and that is when Purun gets a very serious look on its face. This little slime starts vibrating right on top of his head, its expression turning into one of pure, concentrated focus. Suddenly, Purun starts glowing with a brilliant light, flashing an image of a mystical blue flower into his mind. Teishi is completely stunned, wondering if this is what he thinks it is, as Purun hops to the floor ready to lead the way. Purun looks like it is concentrating with all its might, sprouting a little flower-shaped limb right out of its side, and then proudly presents the finished slime plant with a little flourish. It starts to puff up, getting ready for the big reveal. Transforming into a ridiculously buff slime man, an absolute unit. Teishi immediately asks if that asterisk plant is the cure for Kazuki's mom, then celebrates, asking his now normal-sized slime where they can find it. Back on his head, Purun starts glowing again to show him the way, projecting an image of an SS-Rank dungeon because of course it is a death trap. Our boy gets serious, asking if Purun is okay going back to such a painful place. But the little guy is all fired up, ready for the mission. Teishi pumps his fist, shouting they will go get it right as Akazuki walks out. He quickly apologizes for being so loud, but she is just glad he is still there, telling him to go home though he insists on waiting for her dad, almost calling him father-in-law again. She is clearly touched by his dedication, whispering a quiet thank you, and when he asks if she is alright, she insists her mom will overcome this. Teishi agrees, wisely deciding now is not the time to pitch a suicide mission. So instead, he reminds her of the day he quit school, flashing back to his promise to repay all her kindness one day, and telling her to remember his words, never ever give up. Her face just softens, completely moved by his promise to be there for her, and with a quiet smile she agrees, putting her faith in him. That night, Teishi is already back home, the mission prep fully underway, confirming the plan with Purun while packing his bag. SS-Rank dungeon dive it is. He knows this will not be a quick trip, grabbing enough supplies for at least one night, and with his bag zipped, he is all in on this ridiculously dangerous plan. Backpack on, he tells his angry little slime sidekick they need to move fast, so now he is biking through a creepy forest with Purun as his adorable, glowing headlight. He arrives at the entrance, never expecting to have to return to this nightmare place, staring down into the same pit of absolute darkness he escaped from. Taking a deep breath, our boy steels himself for what is coming. Then with a golden aura flaring up, he steps right into the abyss. Immediately, a giant lizardman monster comes roaring out to greet them, welcome back. Teishi instantly goes Super Saiyan, winding up a punch that is glowing with holy light, and the impact is a massive flash, just obliterating the poor lizard. He floats there for a second over the code monster, completely unfazed by the warm-up. But another challenger appears, a goblin dropping from the ceiling for a sneak attack. Our boy does not even flinch, just gives it a look of pure unadulterated annoyance. Because this time a golden tendril shoots out from his back straight from Purun, and the goblin is completely stunned as the slime attack engulfs it midair. Purun's golden slime whip just absolutely demolishes the goblin midair, and Teishi lands without a scratch as the monster just evaporates behind him. Touching down softly, he is still rocking the school loafers. Dungeon chic is a thing now, and of course the next welcome party is an entire goblin army waiting for them. Our boy figures more monsters just means they are on the right track, which is some questionable logic. So with that settled, he starts powering up for the main event. Deciding to speed things up, he preps a big one, unleashing a move called nuclear fusion, a totally normal high school skill. This kid is just a whirlwind of golden energy now, forming a literal lightsaber with his bare hands. Then he just carves through the front lines like it is nothing, finally taking a breath after clearing out the whole mob. This entire goblin army is just scattered across the floor, totally wiped. Now he is completely gassed, realizing they forgot to pack snacks for their SS-Rank death dungeon trip. Puron is absolutely fuming, demanding they forage for some dungeon grub. But suddenly the little guy hops off his head with a serious look, staring intently into a pitch-black cave entrance. Taishi gets a sudden chill, recognizing this awful feeling, because that is the cave of King Buffalo, the monster that almost killed him before, and it looks like their only path forward is straight through his lair. Taishi squares up, calling out King Buffalo for round 2, no more running. And from the shadows, a claw emerges with a promise. He is not getting away this time. This big bad himself peeks out, looking a little more intense than our boy remembers. Taishi is immediately on edge, realizing the monster's form has changed completely. King Buffalo steps into the open, ready to settle the score with the rat who escaped. This guy holds a serious grudge, vowing to finally make a meal out of his one failure. Suddenly, the monster lunges with blinding speed, catching Taishi totally off guard, and in a flash, it is already on top of him, a blur of pure aggression. A massive tail whips around for a devastating strike, but Puron instantly forms a shield, forcing Taishi into a desperate defense. This monster roars, absolutely furious that its attack was blocked. It changes tactics, lunging straight for Puron, realizing the slime was the real target all along. This beast gets a direct hit, chomping down and yanking the slime right off his shoulder, revealing its master plan: separate the duo, and the human is just an easy snack. With Puron captured, King Buffalo immediately smacks Taishi with a brutal blow. Our boy goes flying, completely overpowered without his partner, but his eyes are pure fire. This fight is far from over. Just as he is about to crash, Puron deploys Cushion Supreme. The best defense is a good slime. Taishi lands safely on a ledge, defiantly yelling that they will never be separated. But King Buffalo just scoffs, promising they will both end up as his dinner anyway. King Buffalo is drooling, promising to eat their souls this time, real charming. Taishi just mocks him from a ledge, calling him an indiscriminate eater. Then he powers up, ready to shut that mouth for good. A single, holy light-infused punch sends the monster reeling back in agony. And just like that, King Buffalo is down for the count, a bloody mess on the floor. Our boy immediately powers down, complaining he is gonna collapse without some snacks. But a dark presence suddenly fills the cave, dismissing them as just a human and a slime. A new, far more menacing monster appears from the shadows, vowing to kill them all. It is King Buffalo, but he has evolved into a gigantic skeletal demon version, leaving Taishi and Puron absolutely stunned by the sudden boss-level upgrade. This beast lets out a deafening roar, its sheer size dwarfing our hero. Taishi cannot believe it, realizing this thing is way bigger and badder than before. Without wasting a second, the monster raises its massive arm for a strike, bringing a gigantic clawed hand down with crushing force. Our boy braces himself inside a golden aura as the attack is about to land, barely managing to leap out of the way at the last possible second. This monster growls, furious that the little rat keeps scurrying around. Taishi lands, giving it a look that says the real fight is just starting. He flashes back to the last time they met, when he was just a scared kid running for his life. But not this time. He powers up, vowing he will never run away again. This monster roars, promising to swallow him whole, real original. So Taishi claps his hands together, promising a special gift to end this, and a massive golden aura surrounds him as he gathers energy midair. With an angry Puron on his shoulder, he unleashes Judgment Lightning, because why not? And King Buffalo looks up, completely caught off guard by the sheer power. A literal pillar of holy lightning just smites the monster from above, its entire body cracking apart under the holy onslaught, and the attack slams it into the ground, completely overwhelmed. Our boy lands, looking totally unfazed as his hair returns to normal, but the monster is not quite done, vowing they will never escape its grasp. Taishi just walks over and gives it a swift kick to the face, planting his foot on its head, completely unimpressed by the final boss. Leaping into the air, he calls out to Bullhead for one last move, and with a casual "see ya," he prepares to use a sealing technique. A massive explosion of dark and golden energy erupts from the monster's body, and his hand touches the ground as the dust settles. It is finally over. Just like that, he collapses onto the floor, completely spent. His first words after saving the day: he is super hungry, of course. Moments later, they are praying over a giant leg of monster meat roasting on a spit, because they found those snacks after all. Dungeon barbecue is on the menu. Taishi and Puron are practically drooling over their monster roast, but the little slime suddenly looks downcast, spotting some mushrooms off in the distance, and immediately starts chowing down on them, much to Taishi's confusion. Our boy picks one up, warning him about eating random dungeon fungi. And the system confirms it is a highly toxic SS-Rank mushroom. Taishi absolutely freaks out, trying to stop Puron from eating the deadly snack, but it is too late. The little guy swallows it with a smug look on his face. Now he is screaming for an antidote as Puron splits in two. Oh god, it is melting. This status window, however, shows it only took 1 point of damage, which it recovered from instantly. This slime is just built different. Taishi just sighs, realizing he worried over absolutely nothing. With that crisis averted, their attention returns to the main course, and after devouring the whole thing, they decide to rest up. Our boy is completely passed out from the food coma, with Puron just chilling on his chest, keeping watch. This little slime just stares at its sleeping partner for a moment, letting him get some much-needed rest in the creepy cave. Then its expression hardens with determination. And it hops off, heading into the darkness all by itself. Teishi wakes up with a jolt, calling out for Puron, and finds himself totally alone in the creepy cave. He gets to his feet shouting for his little slime buddy, now officially on high alert and ready to search. A painful memory suddenly hits him: the day he abandoned Puron for being too weak. He realizes with horror this is the same place with all those bad memories, and the guilt of bringing Puron back here is just crushing him. Snapping out of it, he knows he has to find Puron and fast. He stands before a dark passage trying to sense his partner's energy, closing his eyes to focus his senses, and suddenly he feels a presence in a specific direction. Following the feeling, he ends up in a rocky canyon, but the trail leads to a dead-end wall which makes zero sense. He touches the rock, wondering if Puron somehow phased through it, so he tries the classic run-through-the-wall trick, and immediately eats dirt, a spectacular failure. Lying on the ground, he realizes it is not a wall but a hidden entrance. He wonders who would make something like this and what they are hiding. Then a sudden thought hits him, his eyes widening. As he stands up, a look of dawning horror on his face. This hidden passage opens up to a massive, ancient-looking shrine, and while he is confused, Teishi knows for sure Puron is in there. He immediately starts calling out, desperately searching for his partner, taking a hesitant step into the strange, holy-looking place, and a little yellow blob peeks out from behind a pillar. Teishi spots him, a wave of pure relief washing over his face. He scoops the little guy up, immediately lecturing him about how worried he was. Puron's response is a smug little wink, zero regrets, all mission. Then it proudly presents him with a glowing, ethereal blue flower. And Teishi is completely stunned, recognizing the legendary plant. This system confirms it is a flower that can cure literally any disease, so our boy is absolutely ecstatic, cheering that Puron actually found it. With this, he realizes they can finally cure Kazuki's mother, but he is still scolding the slime, reminding him it is way too dangerous to go alone. He promises they will stick together from now on. He can be relied on too. This little slime seems to take this to heart, remembering what just happened. In a flashback, we see Puron finding the flower all by itself on a pedestal, its expression one of pure, unwavering determination, when a mysterious horned woman appeared, greeting it like an old acquaintance. She immediately starts taunting it, asking if living with humans is really all that great. This horned woman smirks, calling herself the dungeon goddess and accusing Puron of theft. Puron just shouts its name back, totally defiant. She finds this hilarious, mocking the slime for helping out pathetic humans. Walking away, she says she cannot just hand over such a precious flower, so Puron threatens to take it by force, which she finds adorable. She leans in, basically daring the little blob to even try, and our little slime is absolutely fuming, ready to throw down. This goddess just gives it a deadpan stare, completely unimpressed. But Puron's death glare does not waver for a second. Then she suddenly does a 180, claiming she was just being mean for fun. With her back turned, she casually tells Puron to just take it, urging it to hurry before she changes her mind again. Cautiously, the little slime approaches its prize and does a little victory dance, absolutely thrilled. But the goddess rains on the parade, predicting he and Teishi will part ways soon. Puron just gives a confused little huh, not getting it at all. Her smile is pure condescension, calling it pure for still trusting humans. Then she twists the knife, reminding Puron it was abandoned once already. Humans betray you the second you are not useful, she warns, and Puron snatches the flower, completely done with her lecture. This goddess seems to ponder the word friend like it is a foreign concept. But she just tells Puron to go, finding the whole situation interesting. And the little slime bounces off, leaving a wet trail of pure victory. As Teishi carries his partner away, the goddess watches from the shrine entrance. Her expression is unreadable, a mix of something like regret and curiosity. While Teishi is just happy to have his smug little buddy back in his arms, this goddess looks down, lost in thought for a brief moment, all alone again on her throne after that weirdly personal lecture. Back in the present, Puron is actually crying, remembering her ominous words. That final cryptic smile from the goddess was anything but reassuring, calling their encounter a curse disguised as destiny. Her parting shot echoes as Teishi walks away. Enjoy it. With the flower secured, they are now at a hospital against a blood-red sunset. Teishi is absolutely booking it down the hallway, no time to waste, practically begging the universe to let him make it in time. He is running like his life depends on it because someone else's does. This kid is in a full-blown panic, racing against the clock, until he skids to a halt, spotting a Kazuki outside a room, but she is just standing there, completely breaking down in tears. Teishi's heart just sinks, fearing the absolute worst. Teishi hits the floor, utterly convinced he failed, this world just seeming to fall apart around him. In the hallway, a Kazuki is just lost in her grief, her sobs echoing through the empty corridor. Even Puron looks absolutely heartbroken for her. While her father stands nearby, looking just as destroyed. He turns away, defeated, heading for the operating room door. A Kazuki finally notices Teishi standing there, calling his name weakly, and he immediately asks about her mom's condition. She tells him it is critical, but there is still a chance, a flicker of hope. But then a heart monitor flatlines, showing 0 vitals, which makes a Kazuki whip around in total alarm. and she sprints toward the room, screaming for her mom. Taishi is left standing there, completely stunned by the sudden chaos. Inside, her mother is unresponsive, the flatline tone filling the room. This whole family and medical staff are gathered, looking on in horror. Our boy walks in to see the father trying to hold his daughter back, as the doctor and nurse just stare at the monitor, all hope gone. With a heavy sigh, the lead doctor accepts it is over. Her father can only hold Akazuki as she completely breaks down. Taishi is just standing there, completely shell-shocked by the scene, and we see why. A brutal flashback to him losing his own parents. Snapping back to the present, he drops his bag with grim purpose, clutching the one thing that can stop history from repeating itself. He shouts that this flower from the SS-Rank dungeon can save her, but the medical staff is already calling it, saying there is no time left. Akazuki and her father are right there, and she begs them to use it. But a nurse immediately tries to shut him down for causing a scene. He is desperately trying to get them to listen, insisting it is real, which finally gets the attention of the doctor and Akazuki's dad, and Akazuki looks at him, heartbroken, reminding him he promised. A different promise flashes in his mind, one made with her dad about leaving her alone. And suddenly a new player enters the chat, the blonde rival who apparently believed in him all along. Taishi and Puron just lock in, ignoring all the side drama, and there she is in the flesh, looking absolutely devastated for them. She steps forward, telling everyone to just wait a second, actually vouching for Taishi and begging them to trust her friend. Now it is a full-on group effort, with everyone pleading with the doctor, as Akazuki cries over her mom, just desperate for a miracle. But the doctor hits them with a hard no. He cannot use an untested magic plant, regulations and all that. But Akazuki's dad steps up, pulling the ultimate I am the guardian card and taking full responsibility, and the doctor's entire medical license flashes before his eyes. Then suddenly the flatline is gone, they have got a pulse. After a tense time skip, the hospital staff is monitoring her vitals around the clock. Taishi and her father anxiously wait outside for the official word, and the doctor confirms the flower worked, but they need to run more tests. Her dad is ecstatic, but the doc is still playing it cautious, professional buzzkill. Inside, Akazuki is already by her mom's side, just so thankful she is alive. This earns Taishi a full ground-scraping bow from a very grateful father, who then grabs his hands, completely overcome with emotion. He is just processing the sheer weight of what Taishi risked for them, saying our boy literally gave their family hope again. Taishi, of course, gives all the credit to Puron, who is soaking it up with zero shame. When the dad insists on repaying them, Taishi blurts out, "Father-in-law, whoops." A sudden shout from the room sends them both sprinting down the hall in a panic, only to find Akazuki's mom is awake and smiling at her daughter. Both Taishi and her dad just watch from the doorway, totally moved by the scene. Akazuki is just a mess of happy tears, completely overwhelmed with relief. This whole family is finally reunited at the bedside, the nightmare officially over, and our boy shares a quiet, victorious smile with his little partner, Puron. This nurse is in total disbelief, telling the doctor a miracle just happened, and he immediately orders a full workup, trying to keep his composure. While Taishi just processes the word miracle, something he has waited for, which throws him back to when he was a broken kid wishing for the exact same thing. And now, years later, it has finally happened, just for someone else's family. Deciding to give them their moment, he tells Puron it is time to go, and our boy quietly slips out, heading down the empty hospital hall. Later, he is biking through a sunlit path, a rare moment of peace. But even with Puron on his shoulder, he cannot shake a weird, heavy feeling. His mind drifting to a dark place. Could he have saved his parents with Puron? This thought sends him into a spiral, grabbing his head in anguish, until a sudden buzz from his pocket breaks the self-loathing session, and he pulls out his phone, Puron looking on with total concern. Now at a bus stop, he takes the call from Akazuki, who happily reports her mom is making a truly miraculous recovery, and Taishi is genuinely thrilled for her, saying he never doubted it. She then asks where he is because her mom wants to thank them in person. But he lies, saying he is already on his way home, leaving Akazuki a little disappointed on the other end of the line. He just deflects, suggesting they all meet after her mom is fully discharged. Akazuki agrees to the plan, though she sounds a little hesitant, while Taishi just offers a sincere, heartfelt thank you, and he says her name one last time before hanging up, thanking her for actually believing in him when no one else did. With the call over, she just stares at her phone for a moment. And back in the hospital room, her mom asks where Taishi disappeared to. Akazuki explains he went home, clearly disappointed she could not thank him properly, but she puts on a brave face, saying they will see him again soon. A new day dawns, bright and sunny, finding Taishi biking along, finally looking a little more at peace. Puron gives him a much-needed pep talk, telling him to focus on the win, and our boy pedals off, ready to celebrate with a good meal. Then he slams on the brakes, screeching to a sudden halt. Because reality just hit him like a truck, he has got responsibilities. First on the list, his apartment, where he is super late on the rent. He shows up at his landlady's door, bowing and offering sweets as an apology, and she comes out looking all sweet and understanding, telling him not to worry. This landlady even gratefully accepts his peace offering, before her face darkens, warning him not to let it happen again, a total 180. Taishi is immediately terrified, promising to be more careful, the landlord special. After that whole ordeal, Puron is just happy to be home, But first, Teishi has to quit his part-time job at the cafe, where his boss is getting all emotional about him leaving for a new career, though her husband is just hyped that Teishi is becoming a ranker, and they both tell him not to forget them when he gets famous, sending him off with a heartfelt goodbye and an open invitation to visit. Our boy walks off looking pretty pleased with himself, leaving his old bosses to worry about his dangerous new line of work. But the guy knows he will be fine. He has got Pura and his new reliable family. Meanwhile, in a completely different hospital room, this blonde rival is telling her mom the whole story of how Teishi vouched for her, explaining that he is weird but honest, which makes her mom notice how much she is talking about a friend. And Karin gets all blushy, admitting thinking about him makes her feel good. This kicks off a flashback to their first day of high school, where she remembers him being the only one with a dark cloud over his head. But she was in the same boat, dealing with her own mom's hospitalization, and in a sea of happy classmates they were two little islands of misery, so she decided to be the one to break the ice and talk to him first, because he ended up doing something for her sake. And you can just see the beginning of a bond forming between them. Back with Karin and her mom, she is insisting Teishi is a good guy she can trust, and her mom is just happy he makes her precious daughter smile, the ultimate parental seal of approval. Karin admits he is a total mystery though, flashing back to him randomly accepting a fish from a guy in a headband, a man of many talents apparently. Then there was that time at the butcher shop which just made her worry about him. But she also remembers him being super reliable, even while buying a literal mountain of fried food. All this to say, thinking about our boy just makes her happy, and her mom hits her with the classic "people who make you laugh are the best" line, saying that is how she fell for dad. Karin is absolutely floored by this, basically calling her dad a charisma black hole. But her mom insists his gruff but kind personality was what she loved. Which makes Karin light up, saying Teishi is exactly the same way. Her mom just smiles, revealing that is when she knew she was into Karin's dad, and you can practically see the gears turning in Karin's head, as her mom's words about falling in love echo around her. This realization hits her like a ton of bricks. She is totally blushing, so of course she immediately panics, shouting that they are just friends, the oldest line in the book. Her mom just gives her that all-knowing, sure smile. Completely unfazed by her daughter's frantic denial, Karin is still trying to shut it down, getting even more flustered, when her dad bursts in with sushi, completely oblivious and ruining the moment with good news. Karin's dad is totally flustered, admitting he showed his embarrassing side, and she has never seen her parents act so lovey-dovey before. It is a whole new world. Overwhelmed by the second-hand romance, she makes a tactical retreat for water. And at the water cooler, she is still trying to process the parental PDA. It is a total mind bender, realizing her dad actually has a romantic bone in his body, so of course he shows up right then, getting a face full of her spit take. While she is freaking out, he just calmly plays it off like it is no big deal. He then hands her a phone, saying mom insisted she have a way to contact people. Karin just stares at the new phone, the implication hitting her like a ton of bricks. Her dad mentions he felt the same way back then, as mom's matchmaking plan becomes clear. He is thinking this is a full-blown mother-daughter conspiracy to meddle in her love life. But Karin is already looking at it with a little smile, ready to make the call. She immediately phones Teishi, sharing the good news and asking to meet up tomorrow. This next day arrives bright and sunny, setting the stage for their meeting. Only it is a Kazuki waiting for him, looking all dressed up for the occasion. Teishi finally shows up, calling out her name as he approaches, and she plays it cool, saying she just arrived while he is just thinking she looks cute. When she asks about Purun, Teishi explains the little guy is napping in his bag. He suggests they find a place to sit and talk for a while, and the scene settles under the peaceful shade of the trees. A Kazuki breaks the silence, pointing out how nice the weather is, and they share a quiet, comfortable moment on the park bench. Before she notes he is in a good mood, and he is just like, "Duh, you are happy," which of course just makes her blush a little. Teishi's just thrilled his power was finally useful for something good, and he is just beaming, admitting how happy he is, when suddenly his bag starts to wiggle because Purun has decided nap time is officially over. This little guy bounces around them, totally stealing the show, which attracts the attention of a random guy with a camera. He snaps a quick Polaroid of the whole scene, then hands it over as a gift while Purun looks ready to throw down over the intrusion. Teishi takes the photo, a little surprised by the gesture, and he and Akazuki lean in to look at it together, revealing a really sweet picture of their moment. Teishi immediately points out how good she looks in it, what a charmer. Suddenly energized, Akazuki jumps up, wanting to go play, and our boy and his little slime buddy are totally on board. Just like that, they are all running off to enjoy the sunny day together. As the scene shifts to the city, marking the end of their little date. Their date montage is in full swing, starting with Akazuki putting some goofy bunny ears on Teishi, followed by a movie where Purun is clearly the most invested audience member, and then they grab some noodles with Purun just chilling on the table, zero shame, before Purun decides Teishi's ice cream cone is the perfect new throne. Day quickly fades into a cloudy night, bringing their perfect afternoon to a close, and Teishi walks her home through the quiet evening streets, this whole vibe just sparkling with some serious romantic energy. Just then, our boy remembers she had something important to tell him, while their little slime chaperone is completely passed out in the bag, truly useless. Akazuki starts to get flustered, saying it is because he has helped her with so many things. Admitting she worries about him all the time, yep, this is a confession scene, which is immediately ruined by a freaking helicopter roaring overhead because of course it is. A huge gust of wind kicks up dust, completely shattering the moment, and dangling from the chopper are four guys in suits not at all ominous. These guys touch down on the pavement like they are on a mission, surrounding them with a bald dude in the lid who clearly means business. This leader, Takahara, greets Teishi by his last name, Yuzukura, like an old acquaintance, leaving our boy totally baffled as to why this guy needed a helicopter for a social call. Turns out news travels fast. Takahara says the association heard all about his SS-Rank dungeon clear, and right there on the street, he officially appoints Teishi as an S-Rank ranker. That helicopter is still roaring, calling out Teishi's name for all to hear. And this bald dude just drops the bombshell. He is appointing Teishi an S-Rank ranker. Our boy is understandably confused, while Puron just looks mad about the interruption. Even the guy's own crew is skeptical, thinking Teishi looks like a total scrub, though the others are whispering rumors that he literally ate a dragon, which is just awesome. So the lead suit steps up, saying they will just have to confirm it directly, getting right in Teishi's face and demanding he take an S-Ranker test on the spot. Takahara explains that S-Ranks are basically national treasures, so they cannot just hand out the title, basically saying if Teishi's legit, the test should be a total cakewalk. His whole entourage just stands there, pressuring him for a decision. Of course, Akazuki is worried about him, and she immediately asks if this whole test thing is dangerous. But Teishi just gives her a look while Puron smirks like he owns the place, calling her name to lay down some serious reassurance. He asks her to believe in him this time too, total heartthrob move, explaining this is a chance for him and Puron to finally prove their worth. With a grin, he promises they're going to crush it, and even promises to pick up their confession-interrupted chat when he returns, so smooth. Akazuki's expression says it all, she is completely on board. And with that, Teishi faces the suits and accepts their little test. Takahara announces their ride is here, a freaking helicopter of course, and Akazuki just watches them get whisked away looking super concerned. From inside, Teishi gives her a cool "I will be back soon" wave, Puron just chilling on his head. She is totally smitten, telling him to do his best. They fly over a massive canyon as the suits explain the simple test is about to begin. And Takahara lays it out. Survive the canyon dungeon below, easy peasy, right? He's given a map and a 24-hour time limit to reach the goal. Plus, if he gets too banged up or the three other suits do not like his style, he fails, no pressure. As they approach the starting point, Teishi gets up, ready to go, standing at the open door of a moving helicopter like a completely normal person. The suits are panicking, telling him to sit down because this area is crawling with monsters. But our boy just smirks, asking if this is where the asterisk strongest monsters are. Then he just yeets himself out of the chopper, calling it a shortcut, which sends the entire crew into a full-blown meltdown because he jumped. Mid-fall, Teishi sprouts a pair of majestic golden wings. While down below, a bunch of shadowy monsters look up, probably regretting their life choices. He clasps his hands, glowing like a sun, and utters a single word. A blinding flash of light erupts from him, flooding the entire canyon. And this holy nuke just scours the canyon walls clean. Their helicopter gets blasted by the shockwave, the pilot screaming his head off. Back in the chopper, the suits are absolutely losing their minds, and Takahara is just stunned. The class monsters did not even react, because our boy wiped them all out in a single zero-damage attack. His whole entourage is just staring out the door, totally speechless. While Takahara realizes this kid is not just S-Rank, he is way beyond it. But wait, an agent on a tablet shouts that some monsters survived, and Teishi looks down like, yeah, I know. From the dust, a massive serpent-like monster rises up, staring down our glowing boy and his equally glowing slime. Teishi just gives it a look, completely unfazed, as a golden spiral of energy wraps around the beast, because Puron is unleashing his supreme spiral attack. And just like that, the monster is reduced to a fine red mist. This helicopter crew just watches this all go down, jaws on the floor. Then Teishi casually reappears, asking if he still needs to finish the course, which gets an immediate test cleared from the terrified agents. So his official promotion mission is to hunt the king crab in an undersea dungeon, and Teishi's just like, sounds easy, while Takahara warns him it is not. His crew explains that while the dungeon is a rank, the target itself is S-rank business, prompting our boy to ask what makes it so tough. This agent explains the dungeon is in the deepest part of the sea, so no pressure. And inside the chopper, Takahara's crew looks appropriately terrified. One of the guys even checks on his colleague, reminding her this is an S-rank mission. And she confirms it is a whole different ballgame since just reaching the entrance is a nightmare. But Teishi is completely unbothered, saying he has got Puron with him, while his little slime buddy just radiates pure, unadulterated confidence. This pilot announces they are at the drop point, telling them to get ready, and our boy and his sidekick are totally prepared for whatever's next. As the helicopter hovers, Teishi gives the signal to go, then the side door just slides open over the dark ocean. Without a second thought, he just leaps out of the helicopter again because why not? Midair, he calls on his trusty slime for a little assistance, and Puron immediately forms a personal submarine bubble around him for underwater travel. They hit the water with a massive splash, plunging into the depths, floating down towards some seriously spooky underwater ruins. Teishi is just amazed that there is a whole dungeon down here. While his slime buddy, now in manta ray mode, looks ready for a fight, Teishi asks what the plan is since Puron is clearly in charge now. And the little guy starts glowing, charging up some kind of attack, unleashing a massive blast of light to announce their arrival. Teishi is totally blinded by the slime's personal sun, which is apparently a skill called nuclear fusion, for casual lighting. Our boy is just hyping up his little buddy, ready to explore the now visible ruins, so they float on through the ancient underwater city, with Puron ditching the bubble to scout ahead on its own. This whole new world has Teishi feeling a little weirded out, and he spots what looks like the main dungeon entrance up ahead, deciding to just head straight for it to check things out. They surface inside a hidden grotto within the ruins, and Teishi pops his head out of the water, still wrapped in his personal slime raft, finding a massive, mossy temple right in front of him. It is dead silent, which he immediately points out is a huge red flag. Because of course the cave is crawling with creepy slug monsters just waiting for them. Puron immediately senses the danger, getting into a battle-ready pose, right as a bunch of giant, fanged fish beasts lunge out of the darkness. But the little slime is already locked and loaded, leaving Teishi completely stunned by the sudden ambush. Puron stands its ground, looking absolutely furious about the interruption, unleashing another golden shockwave to clear the room. And just like that, the monsters are blasted back into the water, problem solved. Teishi gives his little slime buddy a heartfelt thanks, and Puron just puffs out its chest, looking super proud, feeling pretty confident they can handle whatever's next. So they head down a long, moss-covered corridor, when suddenly a winged beast just swallows Puron whole, but the little guy just lasers his way out, slicing two crab monsters in half. Then immediately faceplants another fish thing for good measure, leaving Teishi to just sprint past the trail of monster parts. He spots what looks like the boss room at the end of the hall, asking his little buddy if he is ready for the main event, and with a confident step they approach the entrance. From the dark water, a shadowy figure slowly emerges, revealing the S-Rank king crab in all its tusked glory, and it immediately strikes a pose. Like a full-on bodybuilder flex with glowing claws, which has Teishi completely baffled by its fighting stance. Then a single drop hits the water, making a tiny splash, and our boy has no idea what that was supposed to mean, wondering if the crab is actually inviting them for a swim, which is the last thing he wants to do right now. A sudden jet of water blasts past Teishi, forcing him to leap back, because an rank charging marlin has just entered the fight. Followed immediately by a giant octopus, also a rank. Teishi warns Puron to be careful, but the little slime is already locked on. So Puron just floats between the two new threats, glowing ominously, and instantly flash cooks both of them into steaming seafood. These two rank monsters just float there, completely defeated, and Teishi's first thought is that they look delicious. Priorities, man. While he is distracted by his stomach, the king crab's claw snatches him from behind, pinning him completely before he can even react. Our boy struggles in its grip, finally realizing this might be a problem, as the S-Rank boss glares down, ready to crush him. Puron looks on, absolutely horrified to see its master captured, but Teishi just gives a cocky smirk, telling the slime he is fine. With a casual "do not worry," he gets absolutely yeeted across the room, which sends Puron into a state of pure, unadulterated shock. This crab now has him by the leg, dangling him over the water, and that is when Puron's fear of death skill officially activates. A terrifying dark aura just explodes from the little slime, filling the room, and for the first time the king crab actually looks a little nervous. Teishi realizes Puron used a ton of power for that dark aura trick, while still being completely wrapped up in the crab's giant claw. But he is not worried, he is just yelling that now's their chance to finish this. And his little slime buddy, back to normal, is ready for round 2. Puron activates Mithril Transformation, a skill for delivering internal damage with 0 scratches. Teishi quickly hops onto a piece of shell, making a makeshift raft. As the king crab's leg dangles in the water, a perfect target, this little slime stretches into a living mithril torpedo, then launches itself straight up at the S-Rank boss. It makes contact with a massive flash of blue light, and the king crab just seizes up, getting absolutely wrecked from the inside. Teishi finds himself standing on the now limp claw, a little confused, as the giant monster just floats there, completely defeated. Our boy looks down at the massive carcass, trying to process it all, even asking his slime if they actually won. Puron pops out from under the shell, giving a confident little chirp. So Teishi's first thought is, of course, that it looks delicious. This little slime just beams with pride, soaking in the victory, but then immediately starts to wobble and distort, looking exhausted. And yeah, that one-shot kill took every last drop of energy it had. So Teishi's just riding Puron, who is now wearing the crab shell as a hat, and he runs a hand over the massive prize, realizing there is not a single scratch, a clean kill most S-Ranks cannot manage. Our boy gives his slime a heartfelt thanks, calling him the absolute best. And with the king crab secured, he is ready to call it a day. Puron wobbles toward the exit, completely spent but mission accomplished. Back on the surface, the helicopter just hovers over the empty sea, with Takahara's crew inside looking seriously stressed out. One agent is already losing his nerve, saying they should call for backup, but his boss just tells him to have a little faith for once. Down below, the dark water is eerily calm, until a single ripple disturbs the surface. This agent spots it immediately, pointing down in alarm, and it is Teishi just casually surfing on the S-Rank boss's shell. This entire crew is just frozen, completely speechless. That one doubter is just sputtering, trying to understand what he is seeing. While the woman realizes a true S-Rank has just made his debut, Teishi just looks up, asking them to drop a rope for his catch, and the agents snap out of it, scrambling to report back. A rope finally drops from the sky as Teishi waits to be airlifted with his trophy. Takahara gives him the official thumbs up. He is a real S-ranker now, and our boy is just over the moon thanking him from atop his crabshell ride, immediately turning to his little buddy to share the good news, while Puron just chirps happily enjoying their victory lap on the water. But then Teishi notices the slime is wobbling again, clearly drained, reassuring it that they will get lots of food soon, which gets an immediate and very enthusiastic response from the hungry slime. With that settled, Teishi declares it is time for a celebration party, and his new boss just finds the whole carefree attitude heartwarming, so they fly off into the sunset with their giant seafood prize in tow, making their way back to the association headquarters, where Teishi is formally appointed as the newest S-ranker. This kid gets his official hero shot, looking all stoic and cool, finding a whole welcome party waiting for him on the roof, and the entire squad just breaks into applause, which catches Teishi completely off guard, but they are all genuinely congratulating him on the achievement. Our boy looks down, a little overwhelmed by the reception, thinking back on a lifetime of being looked down on by everyone because this is the first time he has ever been sincerely celebrated like this. Overwhelmed by the praise, Teishi just takes a moment to let it sink in, then gives a speech vowing to take his new S-rank duties seriously, and his new colleagues are already fawning over him, calling him the pride of the branch. Takahara lays out the new deal, better missions and much bigger paychecks. This official announcement is on hold since he is a minor, but the secret will not last long. His boss reminds him that with great power comes, actual responsibility. Teishi just listens, the weight of it all finally hitting him. But he has got something on his mind, looking a little hesitant. He admits he does not feel worthy since all the power was Puron's. Takahara just takes in this moment of classic protagonist self-doubt, then asks a simple question: why did Puron choose him? Our boy's only answer is that the little slime just picked him, but Takahara shuts that down, saying it is because Teishi himself is strong, explaining that just making * a contract with Puron is proof of his own power. Puron just puffs up, totally agreeing with this assessment. His boss tells him to believe in himself because he is their S-ranker now. Then he asks if Teishi's free because he's got a place to show him. They head off into the city for a mysterious S-ranker field trip and arrive at a super fancy, traditional-looking restaurant. Teishi is completely floored. This is where S-rankers eat lunch. At the restaurant, a chef in traditional garb welcomes them inside. And this head chef, Tatsumi, immediately bursts into tears, calling them his benefactors. Then he pulls a very confused Teishi into a hug, completely overwhelming the kid, while Takahara just smoothly thanks the chef for the invitation. They are then presented with a feast fit for royalty, which is apparently just lunch. Teishi is absolutely losing his mind over how fancy this spread is, and Tatsumi tells them to eat up, saying he owes them a massive debt of gratitude. It turns out Takahara explains that this chef was the client for the King Crab mission. Teishi puts it together, realizing this is the guy who sent him on that insane mission, and the chef then tells the very hungry-looking slime to go ahead and eat first, which was a huge mistake as Teishi has to yell for Puron to calm down. After the feeding frenzy finally subsides, a very full and happy Puron just chills while Teishi apologizes for the damage. Our boy thanks him for the delicious meal, calling it the ultimate reward, then asks if the whole King Crab mission was just for a fancy menu item. Tatsumi admits that is part of it, but there is a much more important reason. He explains he did not need it for the restaurant, but for a single dish for one person. This definitely gets Teishi's attention, a dish for just one person. This chef explains it is for a long-time benefactor who just returned from overseas and had a craving. He is just thrilled he could get the ingredient to make this special meal for them. Teishi is genuinely touched, thinking that is a pretty cool reason to go monster hunting. This chef then asks Teishi if he has someone important in his life too. Tatsumi gives him some sage advice: do not ever hold back your feelings for them, because when you are old, he says, that is the only thing you will ever regret. And that little piece of wisdom hits Teishi like a ton of bricks, as a certain blonde-haired girl immediately flashes into his mind. Our boy can only mutter her name, Kazuki, looking totally stunned. He suddenly stands up, declaring he just remembered a promise and has to go, and Takahara just lets him, so Teishi thanks them and makes a run for it with Puron. This leaves the chef alone, calmly sipping his tea like this was the plan all along. He reflects on how amazing the kid is for an S-ranker, solving his problems so quickly. Apparently, the new guy is already the talk of the entire association. Takahara chimes in, saying an underage S-ranker is a first and he has a request, asking the chef to please look after Teishi since he is still just a kid. Takahara gives a silent, determined nod in response. Meanwhile, Teishi is sprinting through the city, a man with a new purpose. He is absolutely flying down the sidewalk, not wasting a single second. Our boy pulls out his phone to make a call, a nervous smile on his face. Then it hits him, Kazuki should still be in school right now. He debates waiting, but figures a dropout probably should not be lurking around campus. Just then, his phone buzzes with an unknown number, classic start to a side quest, and on the other end is the principal of his old high school of all people. This guy says he is calling directly since the homeroom teacher was getting nowhere, wanting a final answer about Teishi coming back to school. This principal is practically begging, promising to meet any and all conditions. Oh, how the tables have turned. Teishi, cool as ever, just tells him he will come to the school to talk in person, so it is back to Geku High, the scene of the crime. He decides to find a Kazuki first before dealing with the administration, a man with priorities, and just like that, he spots her down the hall. Our boy lights up, ready to give her a big, triumphant wave. But she is walking with some other dude and the record scratches to a halt. Teishi's smile just evaporates and even Puron looks ticked off. Other students are whispering it is Nishiyama, the soccer club captain. Of course it is. Akazuki is laughing with him, looking way too happy for Teishi's comfort. Our boy just stands there, completely speechless and heartbroken. This whole S-rank confidence just drains right out of him, leaving him feeling small again. Suddenly, a voice calls out his name from behind, and Teishi turns, still looking completely defeated. It is his old bullies because this day just could not get any worse. This blonde leader just stares him down, saying his name like a threat. This bully squad reminds him he is a dropout like he forgot, but Teishi just says he is here to see the principal, cool as you like. This leader's face just screams this was not supposed to happen. Because our boy is not even flinching and Puron looks ready for violence. This bully realizes Teishi's eyes are completely different now, and gone is the scared kid replaced by someone with actual confidence. Now the bully leader is visibly sweating, the power dynamic completely flipped. Suddenly he is asking for a favor. Oh, this is gonna be good. He begs Teishi to restore the skill that our boy apparently sealed. Whining that he feels like a useless piece of trash without it, the irony is just beautiful. His desperation is real, practically screaming for his powers back, while his lackeys admit they are just C-rankers and cannot do a thing to him. So the leader gets on his hands and knees, full-on groveling for mercy. Teishi looks down at this pathetic display and just says, "No." He calls the guy out for ruining lives without a second thought. Flashing back to when this same dude called him F-rank trash, our boy asks if he really thought he could play the victim and get away with it, knowing full well they are still bullying weaker students. Seeing them again, Teishi decides he is asterisk coming back to school after all, because now he has the power to right wrongs and he is ready to set things straight. This bully leader just sweats, completely stunned by Teishi's new spine. Who lays down the new law with a cold smile, they better behave themselves from now on, or he will pay them back for everything, times about 10,000. His old tormentors are just frozen in absolute pants-sweating terror, and the leader immediately promises he will stop bullying people, a likely story. But Teishi calls him out by name, saying he knows exactly what kind of person he is. So a simple promise is not gonna cut it. He is making this lesson stick today. At that, one of the lackeys just bolts, screaming his head off, already throwing his boss under the bus, yelling it was all Shota's fault. This other one chimes in, "Me too." The loyalty is just overwhelming. Teishi reminds them their victims did nothing to deserve any of it, then unleashes a skill called Death Fear because it is time for a demonstration. Puron morphs into two giant slime tentacles, grabbing the remaining bullies, one of them getting choked out by the gooey arm of justice. This other two are completely paralyzed with fear as they are caught too, and a close-up on Teishi's eyes shows he is absolutely done playing games. He floods their minds with a vision of a monstrous, terrifying eye, and the bully leader's brain just completely short-circuits, leaving him a drooling mess. With the whole squad twitching on the ground, Teishi reveals that was just a tiny sample of the skill, telling them it is nothing compared to what they did to others and to think about their life choices. Inside the nightmare, the bully leader is all alone in some bloody hellscape, and he immediately starts yelling at his lackeys, still trying to pull rank in his own hallucination. He is furious they are ignoring him. The ego on this guy is just indestructible, until they turn around with dead, hollow eyes and just start screaming. Shota hits the deck, completely freaked out by their zombified faces, and he is stammering, asking what is wrong with them. "Buddy, you are in a psychic prison," just as shadowy tendrils start erupting from the ground around him, wrapping him up as he lets out a final, terrified scream. Then he gets a front row seat to the giant, monstrous eye that has been haunting his mind. And just like that, the vision ends, leaving him gasping on the floor. Back on the rooftop, the whole bully squad is just scattered and broken, with the leader still twitching while his buddy looks like he has seen a ghost. One of them is completely unconscious and Shota is just trying to process the beatdown, finally realizing the power gap between him and Teishi is an absolute chasm. This cold sweat says it all. He has finally understood he messed with the wrong guy. His lackey theorizes it is all because of that slime Puron, connecting Teishi's power up to his trip to that SS-rank dungeon. Shota, however, is not learning a lesson. He is plotting revenge by digging up dirt on Teishi, and his crony, showing a flicker of survival instinct, suggests maybe they should just stop. But the leader doubles down, demanding they find anything they can use against him. This principal is just overjoyed, thanking Teishi for deciding to come back to school. But our boy reminds him to keep his end of the bargain, no funny business. And with that settled, he heads back out into the hallway, telling Puron it is probably time for them to just head home for the day. Just as he is leaving though, a voice calls out his name from down the hall, and he turns to see a Kazuki looking right at him. She runs over, asking what he is doing here, so he explains the meeting with the principal, which is when Nishiyama steps in, saying he has heard all about Teishi from her. This guy introduces himself with a smug smile, acting like he is a local celebrity, and Teishi's internal monologue is basically just, "I hate this dude already." Akazuki, completely missing the tension, is just thrilled they get to go to school together again, while Nishiyama's face just completely darkens at the news. Not that Akazuki notices, she is too busy being absolutely delighted. So Nishiyama, Mr. Subtle, just challenges Teishi to a match right then and there, leaving our boy totally confused by this sudden declaration of war. Next thing you know, the three of them are in an empty classroom, where Nishiyama proposes the match is going to be arm wrestling, this stakes. If he wins, he gets to seriously pursue Akazuki because that is how romance works apparently. Akazuki is completely flustered, asking why he is suddenly saying all this, and he explains that while he has heard Teishi is strong, arm wrestling is his best shot at winning. Teishi, looking dead serious, agrees to give it his all, thinking this guy is a weirdo but at least a sincere one. Nishiyama clarifies he does not need Teishi's permission to like Akazuki, but she apparently cannot stop talking about our boy, leaving her totally embarrassed. This guy's whole deal is he needs to earn the right to confess. What a bizarre honor system. Teishi's expression hardens, ready for this ridiculous challenge. And their hands lock, officially starting the arm wrestling match. In the empty classroom, our boy accepts, ready to settle this once and for all. Meanwhile, in a completely different genre, we are at the Akazuki Group HQ, where a board meeting is going south because they are running out of high-grade mana pools. At the head of the table is the chairman, Kazuma Akazuki, looking grim. An executive explains their supply from top-tier dungeons is drying up fast. So the chairman orders them to find new dungeons and sign more top rankers, like it is that easy. His subordinate has to break the news that their best adventurers are jumping ship to rivals. This whole room is sweating bullets, promising they will figure something out. Chairman Akazuki just blames himself for the whole mess, looking defeated. His employees just watch, probably terrified of getting fired. Then he snaps, yelling to just throw money at the problem, a foolproof plan, I am sure. He immediately regrets it, realizing his focus on profit has backfired spectacularly. Suddenly, he thinks of a solution, a legendary flower from an SS-Rank dungeon that Teishi just so happens to have. Chairman Akazuki announces a new corporate philosophy, earn trust, do not just throw money at people. His employees are totally impressed, noting how much brighter the boss seems now. Left alone in the massive boardroom, the chairman just sits and thinks. His face is still etched with worry despite the big speech. Then his mind drifts to Teishi and Puron, the kid who sparked this whole change of heart. A slight smile crosses his face. That boy is definitely one of a kind. Suddenly, his phone buzzes, breaking the silence of the empty room. He answers, his whole mood lifting as he tells his wife he is heading to the hospital. Over the phone, she suggests they meet up and grab some udon after her appointment. She then asks for an update on that matter involving Teishi. This chairman explains that our boy is incredibly busy, so a dinner invite will have to wait. His wife is just thrilled at the idea of making Teishi a home-cooked meal soon. Meanwhile, back in the classroom, the arm wrestling showdown is ready to begin. Teishi tells Puron to stay with Akazuki, determined to win this with his own power. With the slime perched on her head, the two rivals lock hands, ready to go. Nishiyama asks Teishi what he wants to get out of this match if he wins. Our boy's eyes narrow, considering the question for a moment, before declaring that nothing will change because his mind is already made up. He says since Nishiyama is serious about this, he will respond in kind. And so they stare each other down, with Akazuki caught in the middle of their intense rivalry. Akazuki finally snaps, begging them to stop this embarrassing testosterone fest. And at her plea, Teishi tells his rival to stand down. Nishiyama fires right back, telling his senior to stop too, a real stalemate of politeness. So Nishiyama gently lets go, the duel ending before it even started, agreeing to call it off for today, all for Akazuki's sake. But he clarifies it is not because he is scared, he is just being considerate since Teishi was not ready Sura. This guy then puffs his chest out about fair play, and Teishi just thinks he is a complete weirdo. After that whole mess, the scene shifts to the school grounds at sunset, where the three of them are just walking together in the most awkward silence imaginable. Akazuki is internally screaming about how weird this whole situation has become, while Nishiyama tries to break the tension, asking if Teishi's officially back at school. Our boy confirms, adding he can see Akazuki anytime now, which leaves her blushing. This new rival mopes that he will be seeing Teishi a lot too, since he's been hanging with Akazuki. Teishi, full of confidence, just tells him he is ready for an arm wrestle whenever. And watching him, Akazuki notes how much more cheerful Teishi has become. She is practically giggling while leaning on him as Nishiyama stews in the background. This walk home turns into a sweet moment just for Teishi and Akazuki, leaving Nishiyama to just watch them go, the third wheel in his own love triangle. At a crossroads, he announces he is heading off and the trio splits up. But Teishi calls out for a cool fight next time, leaving Akazuki totally baffled. Nishiyama gives a cheerful wave, congratulating Teishi on his return to school, and our boy's just thinking what a weirdo this guy is. Puron's face says it all. Now alone, Teishi tells Akazuki he has something important to say, which turns out to be an invitation to dinner from his mom. She happily accepts for this Saturday, with Puron getting an invite too, and while Teishi warns her about the slime's appetite, she is not worried at all. Internally though, Teishi decides to just say what he really wants to, telling her there is something else he needs to confess right now, leaving Akazuki completely stunned by the sudden shift in tone. Just then, a mysterious blonde woman literally appears out of thin air, tackling Teishi from behind in a massive hug, yelling that she has missed him. He is completely flustered, having no earthly idea who this person is, while the camera decides to focus on some very prominent plot points. Our boy is just a blushing, stammering mess from the sudden contact, and Akazuki is instantly jealous, assuming he has got other girls on the side. With impeccable timing, she announces her ride is here and decides to leave. As Teishi desperately tries to explain that he is being held hostage by a stranger, this mystery woman just ignores the chaos, commenting on how tall he has gotten, calling him little one and asking if he is happy to see her again. Down on the pavement, Puron is absolutely seething. It definitely knows who she is. This mystery woman introduces herself as Norn, the goddess of the dungeon, which explains nothing. And we flash back 6 years ago deep inside some creepy-looking cave, where a tiny, angry-looking slime is just sitting there, glowing ominously. Its little X mark is practically pulsing with dark energy, when Norn appears, but with horns this time, recognizing this specific slime. This poor little guy is sweating bullets, clearly on its last legs in some kind of sacred pool, and down from the heavens descends Norn, looking every bit the goddess she claims to be. Her diagnosis is grim: keep this up and you are dead. Our little slime friend is clearly feeling the pressure, not looking so good. Turns out it is suffering from something called the Reaper's Curse. Sounds pleasant. Norn realizes this is the same little kid she met before, connecting the dots. Posed on her throne, she looks down at the now pale, weakened slime, which starts crying as she names it Puron right then and there. With a sigh, she calls it hopeless, like a very disappointed mom. Then her hands start glowing with some serious divine power, wrapping Puron up in this golden, healing aura. A gentle smile crosses her face as she works her magic, vowing to save it as her power swirls all around. Her hand reaches out, making contact with the cursed slime, and with a final flash of light, she begins to lift the curse. Norn's voiceover calls Puron strong and cute now, as her divine power swirls into a massive vortex of light, officially granting it the blessing of the goddess of the dungeon. Back in the present, Taishi is still being held hostage, demanding to know who she is, and his brain just short-circuits when she introduces herself as a literal goddess. On the ground, Puron is radiating pure, unadulterated rage, which Norn finally seems to notice, looking over with a slight surprise. She lets go, apologizing for ambushing him in front of his important friend. But Taishi is still processing the hug and the asterisk physics involved. He is trying so hard to play it cool, but the blush is not going away. This whole thing has him wondering what her deal with Puron even is, and Norn cheekily asks if he is the one who gave the slime its name. Taishi freaks out again. This goddess can read minds, apparently. She leans down, telling Puron it is a very nice name, and just like that, the slime's anger melts into a happy little blush, so easily bought. Norn then shifts her stance, getting ready to change the subject, leaving our boy looking completely out of his depth. Her expression turns serious as she says they need to discuss something important, but Taishi can barely focus, completely mesmerized by her beauty. With a sly smile, she interrupts his thoughts, saying before that, she calls out someone named Pell, telling them to stop hiding. And sure enough, a shy-looking girl with purple hair is lurking behind a tree, who seems incredibly nervous about being put on the spot. Before finally stepping out and admitting it has been a while, Taishi's brain just short-circuits. Another person just materialized out of thin air. Puron, on the other hand, is bouncing with pure joy, which makes our boy wonder if this is the slime's friend, and the little blob just sparkles happily in response. Norn confirms they are best friends, adding it is a long story, leaving Taishi just genuinely happy for his little slime buddy. Now that the reunion's over, Norn claps her hands to get down to business, her expression turning dead serious as she demands their full attention. Both Taishi and Puron just look on, completely confused, so Norn immediately passes the buck, telling Pell to do the explaining. Classic management. A quick flashback shows Pell confronting a horned Norn, reminding her of a promise, and she is in tears, begging for help with something urgent. Back in the present, Norn is basically shoving her forward to talk. As Pell stammers, clearly terrified of what she has to say, she finally screams that if things continue like this, both of them will die. Taishi and Puron are just left completely stunned by that sudden death threat. Norn basically tells them it is a lot for their tiny mortal brains to handle, then gives Pell a little good job pat for dropping that death threat bombshell. With a sly grin, she invites them to her temple for the full, terrifying scoop. But Taishi's only thought is, wait, has she gotten bigger? She cheerfully leads the way, then casually asks for a transformation, which gets Pell all flustered while Norn just tells her to get on with it. Our boy is just stuck on that one word, completely baffled by the request. Looking super nervous, Pell asks them all to please step back a little. An intense purple aura immediately starts crackling all around her, as little black horns start sprouting from her head, followed by a massive pair of feathered wings bursting from her back. The sheer force of it blasts Taishi and Puron backwards, leaving our boy completely speechless at the sight. Puron, on the other hand, is just a blushing, happy little blob, because Pell just turned into a giant purple dragon. Norn just casually gestures to the dragon taxi, telling them to hop on. A quick cut takes us to the entrance of some ominous-looking cave, and Taishi is already regretting this, realizing dragons are way faster than he thought. Pell the dragon jet is absolutely booking it through the sky, while Taishi just screams for help, Puron having the time of its life. Taishi is officially traumatized, deciding Puron can handle protection from now on, while their mysterious host makes a graceful landing, and Norn announces their arrival with a very smug grin. Before them is a massive temple built right into the cave wall, and our boy's eyes go wide. He recognizes this place immediately. It is the same dungeon where Puron found that miracle cure-all flower, which means that flower was a gift from Norn herself. A warm, grateful smile spreads across his face, and he thanks the goddess, who just tells him to thank the slime instead. Just then, Pell nervously interrupts, asking them to come closer, leading them to a set of absolutely gigantic, ornate doors. She warns them that whatever happens next is top secret stuff, no exceptions. Her hand glows with a strange green energy as she reaches for the door, using her magic to push the whole thing open. A blinding light pours out as the massive gates swing wide, and Norn leads the way inside with zero hesitation, Pell right behind her. Teishi, however, is sweating bullets, clearly not ready for this. He and Puron follow them down a grand, torchlit hallway. Passing by some very ominous-looking flaming braziers, Puron peeks around his shoulder, curious about the spooky new decor. Teishi is just completely floored by the sheer scale of this place, standing before a massive golden mural depicting some kind of ancient war, and our boy just stares, still trying to process everything that is happening. While Norn explains these paintings tell the origin of the dungeon and another world, this kid's brain just blue screens at the mention of another world. Which Norn finds completely adorable, of course, so she immediately outsources the history lesson to a nervous Pell, classic boss move. Pell's story begins long ago with a phantom door in another world, a forbidden gate said to connect two realms and bring total ruin, though everyone on the other side believed it led to a perfect utopia, promising freedom from all hardship to anyone who could reach it. And naturally, this kicked off a massive holy war to find the door. But the whole utopia thing was a complete and total lie, orchestrated by a manipulative fallen angel pulling all the strings, who used his pretty boy looks to trick everyone into following him, all part of his master plan to destroy the world on this side of the gate. When the other angels caught onto his scheme, they decided to intervene, building a dungeon between the worlds to sever the connection for good. Then stationing their strongest angels and monsters inside to guard it. But the dungeon's creation somehow caused the world to collapse anyway, back to square one. Pell nervously explains the dungeon was created as a final fortress between worlds, and Teishi's brain just completely gives up trying to follow this lore dump. Norn just smirks, telling him he will get it eventually, super helpful, thanks. Her expression then shifts, getting right to the terrifying main point, which our boy remembers is the whole "you are both gonna die" thing. She says there is one more crucial detail he absolutely has to know, revealing that the fallen angel has been messing with him for a long time. Teishi can barely process it, someone's been targeting him and Puron this whole time. Norn clarifies it has been indirect, manipulating his life to cause maximum suffering, and a flashback shows his parents the first targets of this scheme, followed by the bully who constantly tormented him at school. We even see the lone shark who was making his life hell, and of course his mother's mysterious illness in the hospital, plus a shot of his dad confronting his mom with a recorder, which is just all kinds of messed up. A mysterious girl with pigtails looks up at a helicopter, who seems to be another one of his precious people put in harm's way. All this hits Teishi like a ton of bricks, and he clenches his fist, finally understanding the source of his pain. Norn notes that his survival through all this was a surprise to the angel, but now he has become a target that must be eliminated. Norn's gaze narrows, her focus landing squarely on the little slime, and she calls out Puron, the little one, who just glares back defiantly, which leaves Teishi completely lost, wondering what this has to do with his buddy. Pell nervously starts to connect the dots for him, explaining Puron is now the dungeon's strongest monster, and Teishi is his contractor. Our boy's brain is just buffering, trying to process what that even means. As Pell stammers that if he is bonded to the strongest being in here, it means Teishi is the first human to ever conquer the dungeon. This kid just stands there, completely broken by this accidental achievement. His internal monologue is just a high-pitched, world-ending scream, and the shockwaves from that revelation are gonna take a minute. Norn confirms it, this place was supposed to be unbeatable, but they did it anyway. With that kind of power, the fallen angel is absolutely coming for them now, but she believes they have the strength to fight back. No pressure, guys. Teishi is still stuck on the conquered part, asking what that asterisk actually implies, and Norn just shuts him down with a very simple, very final yes. Then she drops the next bombshell: they are going to the other world. Meanwhile, a few hours ago, the pigtails girl sits alone in a car, replaying a recent encounter and questioning her own weird reaction, apparently jealous of some other girl's relationship with a guy named Yuzukura. Her driver, a guy in shades, asks if Lady Karin is feeling okay, and she insists she is fine as they drive into a very ominous sunset, completely unaware of the massive dragon shadow passing right over them. Back in the present, Norn is all smiles, confirming their little trip to the other world, and Teishi's brain immediately short-circuits. That means he has to fight the fallen angel, but Norn just hits him with some vague destiny nonsense, which is zero help. Our boy is just standing there, completely stunned into silence, a cold sweat breaking out as the reality of the situation sinks in, and his expression just hardens with grim resignation. Norn says his reaction is understandable. He is just a high school kid after all, so Puron gives him a little supportive pat on the cheek, which seems to snap him out of his funk for a second, reminding him of his promise to protect his little buddy no matter what. With his resolve suddenly back online, he clenches his fist, and then he tells Norn he wants to go, he is ready to do this. Pell just looks on, a little worried for her new master, while Norn smirks, saying his determination is all they really need. Pell nervously tries to sweeten the deal, promising there are good things there too, but Teishi is understandably having a hard time believing that, until she reveals the ultimate prize: if he gets stronger, he can finally understand Puron. Teishi's brain is still buffering on that last bit of info, and Pell clarifies he cannot understand Puron *, yet *. The level gap is too huge. Plus, here is another fun fact, Puron is from the other world. This thought of actually talking to his buddy has him completely hooked, and our boy is totally sold. This is the best motivation ever. Seeing he is on board, Norn immediately orders Pell to start the process, leading him down the hall for the next step of this insane journey. Pell gets super flustered, asking her new master to hold her hand, and Taishi just rolls with it because what part of this day has been normal? He takes her hand and a surge of energy starts to glow between them, this magic flaring up as Pell channels some kind of power into him. Norn gives her official goddess blessing, guiding him toward his destiny, and a wave of power washes over Taishi, who looks ready for anything. Then everything fades to white, his eyes snapping open. And suddenly he is back in his apartment, asking Puron about dinner. He is just doing chores like a normal person, a total mind scramble from the dungeon. Reflecting on how much has changed since that crazy day. Back in the present, a system window pops up right in front of him, confirming a skill transfer from Norn herself. He is now the opener of the Otherworld gate. Norn just grins, telling him the skill is his to use whenever he is ready. Taishi ponders his new will-guided skill, still trying to process everything. But then he checks his stats and gets immediately depressed. He is only level 5. His gaze falls on Puron, just chilling on the kotatsu, being a perfect little blob. And holding his buddy, he finds his motivation again, gets stronger for both their sakes. Puron just gives him the most determined little slime face ever, which solidifies Taishi's resolve to power up no matter what it takes. A nearby rice cooker beeps, which is apparently the signal for more system shenanigans, so he pulls up his status screen, staring at that new gate opener title. He wonders what happens if he just pokes it, and a detailed skill description pops up. He can literally summon a gate between worlds. This kid just stares, asking Puron if any of this is actually real, to which Puron responds with the most enthusiastic Puru imaginable. It is so ready. Seeing his friend hyped up, Taishi decides they will get a good night's sleep before their big adventure. What follows is the most wholesome prep montage, starting with brushing their teeth together, followed by a relaxing bath complete with matching head towels. He even tucks his little slime buddy into bed with him, giving Puron a little snuggle before they drift off. This little guy is just vibrating with pure, unadulterated happiness, and they fall asleep in a sparkly dreamscape, just two best buds against the world. Then they wake up in a dark, creepy dungeon. So much for a good night's sleep. Taishi wakes up completely disoriented in the dungeon, and Puron is just as lost and scared, when a massive wall suddenly lights up in front of them, bathing our boy in a blinding, almost painful glow. Puron, however, looks ready for a fight as Taishi realizes they are staring at an ancient mural. This mural shows a very sad little slime looking just like Puron, and a terrifying ram-like monster charging right at it. Then he sees the monster brutally headbutt the tiny slime, which makes Taishi absolutely freak out for his buddy. This little slime in the mural goes flying from the impact, triggering a memory of when he first found Puron all happy and safe. Back in the present, poor Puron is on the floor crying its little heart out, clearly reliving some horrible trauma from its past. This mural continues, showing the slime starting to crack apart, and Taishi reaches out, begging for it to stop. But the image shows the slime completely shattering, a total nightmare. Our boy is feeling every second of his friend's pain, tears streaming down his face as he watches the vision unfold. Then sunlight streams through a window. It was all just a dream. Taishi's still caught in the nightmare, muttering for Puron not to leave him. And then we cut to a massive skyscraper, completely changing the scene. A cheerful blonde girl with pigtails announces she is heading out for the day, but her mom immediately asks if she has checked Taishi's schedule for her restless father. This girl gets a little flustered, promising she will ask him about it today, shuffling her feet with just a hint of awkwardness, and with a quick goodbye she is finally on her way. This scene shifts to Taishi's much humbler apartment complex, a definite downgrade. Our boy finally wakes up looking completely drained from that dream, and he asks Puron if it was awake, who just stares back intently. He gently pets his little buddy, admitting he had a really sad dream. But just having Puron there makes him happy again, so pure. At that moment, his phone buzzes on the nightstand, and he reaches over, wondering who is texting him so early. It is a message from someone named Kazuki asking to stop by after school, and his brain just gets stuck on those two little words. Before he completely panics, she wants to come to his house. Later that day, the sun begins to set over the city, showing Taishi walking home alone with a couple bags of groceries. He realizes that if he goes to the other world, these normal days might be gone for a long time. His thoughts drift back to Pell, who was just so happy he agreed to go, while Taishi and Puron just stood there, completely processing the insanity, stuck in that weird hallway with two literal goddesses. Back in the present, he and Puron are peeking around a corner when a car pulls up and someone calls his name. And of course, it is a Kazuki, the girl from his phone this morning. She was heading to his place, but he is already planning hot pot for them all, which makes her absolutely light up. Dinner plans secured. This sparks a super awkward, sparkly moment between them, and Taishi decides now is the time to tell her something important, catching her completely off guard with his sudden seriousness. But he immediately loses his nerve, telling her to go first, a tactical retreat. She is not having it though, and throws the hot potato right back at him, kicking off a legendary "no you first" politeness battle. They are just standing there, locked in a stalemate of social anxiety, eventually relocating their awkwardness to a nearby park bench, where after a solid minute of silence, a Kazuki finally speaks up, apologizing for cutting him off and storming out the other day. This sends Taishi into a panic, insisting it was all a misunderstanding. but she is determined to own her mistake, admitting she acted like a child. She is just beaming, so happy they can finally talk things out, and this pure sincerity completely short-circuits Taishi's brain, who just mumbles that he feels the same way, staring at the ground. Then Taishi gets a burst of courage, ready to tell her everything, catching Akazuki totally off guard with his sudden intensity. This emotional dam is about to break, a flood of truth coming through, so he lays out the entire insane story for her right there on the bench. After he is finished, the silence is heavy, until Akazuki finally says she understands what happened now. He is floored, asking if she actually believes his crazy story, and she just says yes, adding that there is no way she would not believe him. Our boy is just stunned, asking why she is so sure, because she confesses she has been watching him this whole time, a full-on shoujo moment. This confession hits Taishi like a freight train, and his brain has officially left the building, folks. Puron, however, is the ultimate wingman, cheering them on from his shoulder, leaving them to just sit there as the sun sets. The whole vibe changed. Akazuki suddenly stands up, looking all fired up and ready for action, letting out a huge sigh like a massive weight is off her shoulders, while Taishi is still processing, just blankly saying her name. Akazuki turns back with a look that could cut glass, all business now, and then she drops the bomb. She wants to go with him to the other world. Taishi's brain just blue screens while Puron makes the perfect say what now face. He is still trying to process this insane request like, take you where? But she is dead serious, insisting she means every single word. And our boy tries to explain this is not some fun little field trip. Instead, she takes a very determined step closer to him, getting right up in his personal space to say this is absolutely not a joke. He sputters that their enemy is a literal fallen angel, a asterisk perilous existence asterisk, and furthermore it is just way too dangerous for her to even consider, which is precisely why she wants to go, grabbing his hand to make her point. Flawless logic, really. She says he was always there for her, so now she's going to be the one to support him. This pure, heartfelt declaration just melts Taishi on the spot. But Akazuki doubles down, saying she knows the risks and is not asking on a whim. She even gets why he is hesitant to bring her along, insisting that she has unique skills to contribute to the mission. Taishi just looks down, completely floored by how incredibly earnest she is. Then she gets all shy, asking him not to laugh at her big secret, because it turns out she's been a massive dungeon and monster nerd her whole life. We even get a flashback of her mom scolding her for turning her room into a fantasy research lab. This girl has been training for this moment. She admits her obsession is just too exhilarating to stop, and Taishi just takes it all in, looking kinda stunned, because her dad used to read her dungeon stories as a kid, so she has always felt like she was destined for this kind of adventure, vowing right then and there to never be a burden to him. But Taishi's still got some major reservations, pointing out that he is an orphan while she has a family to think about, which she just calmly agrees to, promising to talk it over with them. With that settled, the whole atmosphere shifts, and she casually invites him over for hot pot at her house, sending Taishi's brain into another full-on reboot, while she's just beaming, totally thrilled with her plan. And yeah, her house is a freaking luxury skyscraper, so they all head over for a very fancy hot pot dinner with her parents, this scene feeling surprisingly normal for a moment, until Taishi and Akazuki drop the otherworld bomb on her folks. And her dad is immediately giving Taishi the death stare, making our boy sweat bullets under the intense parental pressure, who then absolutely lays into him for hiding such a huge secret, before suddenly calming down, realizing the dungeon was just too hard to beat. Akazuki's dad gets dead serious, noting this info would cause absolute chaos if it got out, and Taishi just sits there, wilting under the full force of a billionaire's glare. Then the guy just bursts out laughing, totally geeking out over the dungeon talk, while his family dies of embarrassment. After a quick Chibe-style apology for his little nerd out, he gets back to the matter at hand, turning to Akazuki to ask if she is absolutely 100% sure about this. She pops out from the doorway with a confident "I am completely resolved." Mom looks totally serene about this, but Dad looks like he has just swallowed a bug. He finally caves, saying if her mind is made up, he will not stand in her way. But he has one major condition: have to rely on the family for help. If Taishi can promise that, then he has no objection to Akazuki tagging along. Akazuki is just so moved by her father's support, and Taishi, completely on the spot, stammers out an agreement. With that settled, Dad is suddenly all in, vowing to devote his every effort to the cause. What a turnaround. He even grabs Taishi, announcing the Akazuki group will provide all their activity funds, while her mom adds that this is just repaying him for saving her life before. This whole family is now fully committed to this quest, basically steamrolling our boy with their enthusiasm. Just then, Taishi's phone buzzes, a call from a Mr. Tatsumi, and he picks up, looking a little confused by the interruption. On the other end is an old man holding a massive Dungeon C bream, saying a reservation just opened up, inviting him over for dinner and promising even Puron will be satisfied, because of course he did. Taishi tries to politely turn down the dinner offer, saying they just ate, but Puron is literally sparkling with hunger for that Dungeon C bream. A little smile forms on his face. He knows he cannot say no to that face. So he asks Mr. Tatsumi if bringing a few extra guests is all right. And when asked if they are friends, Taishi just slyly says no, while glancing back at Akazuki and her parents at the dinner table. This whole family is just laughing, completely delighted by the whole situation. As Taishi finishes his thought with the ultimate smooth move, they are family. And bam, they are suddenly in the other world, which is looking a lot like a desert. Akazuki takes her first heroic step into this new land. And immediately faceplants, a truly majestic start to her adventure. Teishi, ever the hero, rushes over to check if she is unharmed. She takes his hand, blaming the tricky terrain for her lack of grace, then asks him to call her by her first name, Karin, from now on. Our boy gets all flustered, admitting the new familiarity will take some time. He quickly recovers, though, vowing they will persevere together. Karin. She is absolutely beaming, surrounded by shoujo flowers at this development. But Teishi's smile fades as he says, and yet, because she was kind of hoping for a fantasy wonderland, not this endless sand dune. We then flash back a few hours, showing the goddesses opening the portal for them. One of the goddesses notes how Teishi and Karin's fates are like cosmically intertwined, and since that is just the law of the universe, she has to roll with it, opening the portal. So she calls out to Karin by name, bestowing a special blessing on her to help Teishi when he needs it most. Which brings us back to the present, where a sandstorm is suddenly kicking up, and Karin is just trying to see through the sand, wondering where this path is even going. Teishi grabs her, saying they have got to find shelter from the storm immediately, then turns to Puron with a brilliant idea: use the slime cannon to scout ahead. Puron is all in, ready for its big moment with a determined thumbs up. Hopping onto the ground to get into launch position, which apparently involves Teishi just stomping on it, peak engineering right there, and yeet, Puron goes flying into the sky as the official slime cannon. While our boy immediately realizes he may have used a little too much force, we just see the blinding sun high in the sky. As Puron becomes a tiny dot on a one-way trip to orbit, Teishi spots it coming back down, getting ready for the catch. This projectile hurtling from the heavens at terminal velocity, and we get a close-up of our brave little scout returning home, right before it splatters directly across Teishi's entire face. Karin, meanwhile, is just trying so hard not to die laughing at this whole display. After being scraped off his face, Puron points them in the right direction, and Teishi asks if the little guy actually found something useful up there, giving him a big all-hug for his commendable effort, so wholesome. With new resolve, he declares they will follow the course Puron has charted, and the whole team is fired up for the next leg of the journey. They trek through the desert until they spot a single dead tree, which is when Karin admits she's completely wiped and needs a break. Teishi agrees, the endless sand really draining their energy, but suddenly Puron gets a very serious, angry look on its face, making Teishi wonder what has got their little scout so worked up. Oh, that is what, a pack of demonic-looking hyenas just showed up. He barely has time to identify the threat because the fiery beasts are already charging right at them, so Teishi immediately calls for the slime bullet's attack. Puron locks and loads, ready to unleash the goo, firing a single perfect shot from Teishi's arm, which smacks the lead hyena right in the chest, and then that one bullet ricochets like a pinball, taking out the whole pack, leaving a pile of defeated monsters in the sand. With the threat handled, Teishi turns to check on Karin, ever the gentleman. Karin confirms she is okay, but she is totally floored by Puron's raw power, and our little slime is just basking in the glory, looking so proud of itself. But her expression turns serious, wondering why those monsters attack so suddenly, when a rough sound suddenly echoes from the rocks nearby, making Teishi immediately snap into a defensive stance, ready for round two. His eyes narrow as he realizes there are still survivors from the attack. Before he can act, though, Karin yells at him to hold on, pointing towards a small, injured person collapsed on the ground. This two of them immediately sprint over to help, finding the kid has some really nasty-looking claw marks on their leg. Karin gently holds the little beast girl, saying the wounds are serious, and Teishi agrees, noting she is barely breathing and they need to find shelter fast. This poor kid is just completely out of it, fighting to hang on, her breathing shallow as she lies unconscious in Karin's arms. He asks if they should treat her here, but Karin says the wounds are too deep, they have to move. At that moment, the girl's eyes flutter open weakly, which startles Teishi, who tells her to stay still and save her energy. She tries to speak, but only a faint whisper comes out. Leaning in closer, he asks her what she just said. And with her last bit of strength, the kid just asks for some water. Karin tells Teishi to hurry, and he is on it immediately, reaching into his dimensional storage for a solution and pulling out a regular old water bottle, peak ice sky magic. This grateful kid takes the offering, whispering her thanks. So Karin gently helps her drink, telling her to take it easy. But the girl just chugs it like she has been in the desert for a year. Teishi just watches, processing the whole cat-girl situation. And after a moment, the kid starts to stir, her eyes fluttering open. Both of them lean in, Karin asking if she is all right. But her eyes snap wide with alarm, realizing they are human, and her nails suddenly sharpen into deadly claws. She lunges straight for Teishi's throat with zero hesitation, making Karin scream his name, completely caught off guard by the attack. Teishi, sweating buckets, reports that he is fine, the strike missed. This little beast girl is now on all fours, looking absolutely feral. Our boy is just baffled, noting her entire aura has shifted, and she snarls, demanding to know what humans are doing in her territory. He is a little thrown by the you humans talks, and she looks pretty human herself, so he steps in front of Karin, telling her to stay back, dangers here. And now we have got a tense standoff in the middle of nowhere. Teishi tries to talk her down, reminding her she just asked for water, while internally steeling himself to protect Karin with Puron's protective aegis. This beast girl's ears twitch, the word water finally breaking through her feral rage, so he offers her a bottle, the ultimate peace treaty in a desert. She is practically vibrating with thirst, barely holding it together, and we get the glamour shot of the holy water bottle, truly a divine sight. Her little ears perk up again, totally focused on the sound of that cap twisting. With a look of pure desperation, she decides survival is better than pride, and immediately starts chugging it down like she's never seen liquid before. A few moments later, the ground is littered with empties. She was not kidding about being thirsty. This water is apparently divine, a 5-star review from the formerly feral cat girl. As Taishi and Karin watch over her like proud parents at a recital. Now fully hydrated, she formally apologizes for, trying to murder them. But Taishi, ever the gentleman, says her wounds are the real priority, which makes her panic, telling him not to waste precious water on her. He insists her recovery is more important, wondering what else he can do to help. His gaze then falls upon the ultimate multi-tool at his feet, Puron. Taishi asks the little slime if it can handle wound cleansing duty, and Puron gives a confident grin, ready for its new job as a medic, leaping right onto her back to begin the slime-based first aid. Puron gets right to work, activating its holy healing powers. Its dissolve ability basically melts away the gunk to seal the wound, and the beast girl is completely stunned, her injuries totally purified. Taishi is one proud slime dad, praising Puron for a job well done, then tells Karin it is time for some good old-fashioned first aid, which apparently involves a tactical deployment of bandages and cotton balls, and the final touch, a single adorable band-aid for those life-threatening gashes. Our boy confidently declares her all mended up now, while she just stares at the little cat sticker on her knee, completely baffled. And this tiny act of kindness just completely melts her. The feral persona is gone. She admits they're nothing like the humans her grandpa warned her about, which immediately piques Karin's interest, grandpa lore, so she kneels down to formally ask the kid's name, and the girl shyly introduces herself as Nekona. Both Taishi and Karin are just so charmed, repeating her name like proud parents, and Karin gives her own name, all smiles and good vibes. Taishi follows up, introducing himself and his trusty sidekick Puron, making Nekona so flustered she immediately calls him elder brother Taishi. But her priorities are straight, asking if there is any more of that magic water. And Taishi, the walking vending machine, is happy to oblige with another bottle. Nekona gets all flustered, insisting the water is not just for her, explaining it is for her mother and father back home and also for her entire village who are all desperate. Karin immediately puts it together, she was attacked while on a water run. With a sad little nod, Nekona confirms the whole tragic story, admitting everyone she knows is in dire straits without water. She tearfully declares her mission is to bring them salvation, no pressure, kid. Taishi is just completely moved by her desperate resolve, so he asks if she will lead them to her village to help out. With a blindingly heroic smile, he confirms they are all in, and Karin and Puron are practically vibrating with excitement to play hero. So it is settled, Operation Save the Thirsty Catfolk is a go. This whole squad strikes a pose, ready for their new side quest. After resting up, Nekona points the way to her home, and the group begins their trek across the desert once more. Before long, they spot a fortified settlement in the distance, which Nekona excitedly confirms is her village. They are almost there. This makes Taishi realize it is the first village he has seen in this world, and as they get closer they see it is guarded by more beast people. This guards, however, look absolutely miserable and totally drained of energy. As they get to the entrance, a guard immediately spots the trio approaching. And the two guards on duty recognize Nekona but are instantly wary of her companions. They get hostile fast, demanding to know what business humans have in their village, which makes Taishi pause, still processing the whole Lady Nekona title. But Nekona jumps right in front of them, vouching for Taishi and his crew, fiercely declaring they saved her life and she will not tolerate any rudeness. This guards immediately start sweating, offering a very hasty apology. One of them is still baffled, though unable to believe Nekona brought humans back, but he reasons that if she is this insistent, they should at least hear them out. With that, the other guard relents, deciding to let them inside. This group finally passes through the village's fortified walls, where a woman immediately rushes over, pulling Nekona into a relieved hug. This is her mother, Rin, who tearfully thanks the group for saving her daughter's life. Taishi, ever the humble hero, just brushes it off like it was no big deal. Rin is just overwhelmed with gratitude, asking how she can ever repay them, when a staff suddenly thuds on the ground, cutting the moment short. An old, very grumpy-looking catman, Chieftain Jeff, demands to know why humans are in their tent. Rin quickly tries to explain the situation, holding Nekona protectively, but the chieftain just declares this is the very heart of the cat tribe. And he has no intention of letting humans stay, they need to leave immediately. This whole crew tenses up, even Puron is throwing a death glare, so Taishi tries to explain they were just trying to help Nekona, but the chieftain is not having it. Gratitude is one thing, letting humans in is another. He just points his staff and tells them to get lost, top-tier hospitality. At that moment, Nekona's ears twitch with righteous fury, and she grabs the old man, completely fed up with his attitude. She bodily shoves her own grandfather out of the way to protect her new friends, yelling that Big Brother Taishi and his crew are the good ones, and she absolutely will not stand for him kicking out her saviors. Her mom, Rin, backs her up, reminding him Nekona would be dead otherwise, pleading with him to let them stay just for the night. This chieftain grinds his teeth, trapped by his own family's logic. Finally grumbling that they can do what they want while looking like he wants to murder someone. He'd rather sleep on the sand than breathe the same air as humans. What a drama queen. With a huff, he turns to storm out of the tent, his staff hitting the ground with a thud, and then he just collapses face first onto the rug. A moment later, the grumpy old man is tucked into bed looking frail, so Rin brings him a cup of that precious water. Explaining they have this much now all thanks to Taishi's group. Taishi takes in the scene, realizing the water shortage is even worse than he imagined, so he asks Rin just how long this nightmare has been going on, and she grimly informs him it has been about 3 years now. We get a flashback to a literal paradise, a village once overflowing with water. But one fateful day, everything started to go wrong, as a sense of pure dread filled the air. And their entire world began to dry up around them. This cause, a gigantic burning worm, because of course it is. Taishi and Puron are just a little bit concerned by this new fiery development, because ever since that thing appeared, the rain stopped and the river vanished. Rin's posture just screams desperation, her hands clenched tight, while the whole group sits in a somber circle absorbing the tragic backstory. Taishi processes this for a moment, a plan clearly forming in his head. Then just casually announces he will take care of their little water problem. Rin is completely baffled, having absolutely no idea what he is talking about, but our boy reminds her he made a promise to Nakona to save the village, and he turns to his trusty slime sidekick for backup. Puron responds with a heroic battle cry, ready to unleash its holy hydration powers. With his partner ready, Taishi stands up, all business now, telling them he is just stepping outside for a sec to go solve a 3-year ecological disaster. So Taishi steps out of the tent, ready to fix their little apocalypse, and the scene outside is just bleak, everyone is completely drained. Karin follows right behind him, curious to see what his grand plan is, while Nakona just looks up at him with total, unwavering faith. He gives her a reassuring head pat, telling her to leave it all to him. Then Taishi turns to his trusty sidekick, asking Puron to do the thing, and the slime just launches itself into the sky like a holy water balloon. Nakona just watches the little yellow dot ascend, completely baffled, because high above, Puron goes full Super Saiyan, powering up its ultimate move. A massive wave of pure energy explodes from the tiny slime, which leaves Nakona absolutely speechless, staring at the sky. Suddenly, the clear desert sky fills with dark, swirling storm clouds. And lightning cracks across the sky, a full-on thunderstorm brewing. Then it starts to rain thanks to Puron's blessing from the heavens skill. Taishi just grins, super proud that his sentient water bottle came through. Back in the tent, Rin hears the noise and peeks outside, confused, her ears twitching as she feels the first drops of water, and she looks up in utter disbelief at the impossible sight. This entire village is now drenched in a downpour, the first in 3 long years. Nakona rushes to her mom, both of them completely overwhelmed with joy. This entire village absolutely loses it, screaming with joy about the rain, and even the grumpy old chieftain wakes up, completely baffled by the sound. He glances over and sees the impossible, a full-blown storm raging outside. His eye goes wide, unable to process what he is seeing. Looking up at the dark clouds, he is convinced this has to be a dream. Meanwhile, out in the desert, a squad of catfolk warriors is getting absolutely cooked. Their captain tries to rally the troops, telling them to just hold on, when one of the soldiers spots something, frantically pointing it out to him. This captain turns, caught off guard by the sudden alarm, seeing a massive dark storm brewing right over their village in the distance. He immediately orders them to double time it back home, right now. Back in the village, the kids are just ecstatic, still playing in the rain. One of them catches some water and the other eagerly takes a drink. Her verdict, it is a little salty, which is weird, but then they realize it is mixed with their own tears of joy, laughing that it is real water. This chieftain finally steps out of the tent into the downpour, looking up with tears streaming down his face, calling it a miracle. He holds out a hand, completely overwhelmed that he is alive to see this again. And Rin rushes over, throwing her arms around him, calling out to her father. It is a powerful, emotional hug, 3 years of suffering finally washing away. Rin is just overwhelmed, burying her face in her father's chest, and the old man holds her tight, all his earlier rage completely gone. Outside, the whole village is in a state of pure, unadulterated joy, with even the little kids dancing in the first real rain of their lives. Taishi watches it all while 2 villagers perform the most intense rain dance imaginable, and he gives Puron a proud little nuzzle, telling him they actually did it. From the tent, the chieftain finally puts it together, the humans caused this miracle. His entire anti-human worldview just shatters in a single, silent moment, and then the grumpy old leader just drops to his knees in the mud. Taishi is completely caught off guard by the sudden, dramatic bow. As the chieftain offers a full-on, head-to-the-ground apology and thanks, our boy just waves his hands, trying to play it cool like it was nothing. But the old man is not done, saying he has one very important question for them, asking what in the world that slime actually is, while Puron looks smug as hell. Nakona immediately kneels down, ready to be the official slime spokesperson, proudly introducing her grandpa to the one and only Puron. This chieftain just waves her off, his focus still locked on the source of the miracle, then formally asks to thank Lord Puron. Yes, Lord Puron. Puron just absolutely beams, soaking in all the newfound respect. Taishi, meanwhile, has absolutely no idea how to process any of this. Just then, the warrior captain from the desert squad bursts in, and yep, it is Nakona's dad, who gets an enthusiastic greeting from his very happy daughter. But Dad is absolutely furious, yelling about how they thought she was lost to the sands, his eyes burning with rage as he reminds her they searched all day. Nekona just apologizes, explaining she only wanted to find water to help, which completely deflates his anger, leaving him at a loss for words. His hand is literally shaking, showing just how terrified he was for her, so he asks her to make him a very serious promise. He kneels down, gently telling her to never, ever do something so dangerous alone again. They seal it with a pinky swear, the most sacred of all oaths. And with that settled, he pulls her in for a hug. Nekona looks up at him, her eyes welling up with tears of relief, as her dad holds her in a tight emotional embrace. Even this tough-as-nails warrior cannot stop himself from crying a little. But the heartwarming family reunion comes to a screeching halt when he looks up and sees Taishi's crew. His face instantly twisting from relief into pure, unadulterated shock. He shoves Nekona behind him, demanding to know why humans are in their village. Karin just sighs, thinking they're getting the exact same hostile reaction all over again. This chieftain calls out to him, his name is Ren apparently, and Ren immediately draws his blade, ready to throw down with the outsiders. But the chieftain grabs Ren, telling his son to knock it off. While the whole family has a very public, very awkward intervention in front of Taishi, leaving Ren completely baffled and trying to process this new reality. And next thing you know, the warrior captain is kneeling before the humans. What a turnaround. He apologizes for losing his temper, which is a polite way of saying sorry for trying to kill you, then thanks them for protecting his daughter and bringing her home. Nekona, meanwhile, is just vibing, happily cuddling up to Karin. And seeing her so comfortable makes Ren think maybe he can trust humans again. Taishi compliments him on being a good father, smoothing things over, then casually asks what the deal is with all the human hating anyway. Ren's face immediately darkens as he explains they were betrayed, which catches Taishi completely off guard. This is way more serious than he thought. This warrior's eyes narrow, lost in a painful memory. And we flash back to a time when a beautiful river flowed right by their village, a time when their home, El Dorado, was an actual paradise, where their tribe of over 500 lived in peace with humans. But one day the humans brought something that turned their entire world to sand and fire, and Taishi starts to put two and two together, asking if it is what he thinks it is. Ren grabs his shoulder, his grip filled with rage and grief. Confirming their nightmare began with the burning giant worm. Ren's eyes burn with the memory, explaining the worm has left only 53 of them alive, and Taishi is just floored by that number, completely shocked. This warrior captain admits that at this rate their entire village is doomed to vanish, which hits Karin right in the heart, feeling their pain. She glances over at Nekona, who is still blissfully unaware of the heavy conversation, and gives the little cat girl some comforting head pats, who absolutely melts into it with a happy purr because priorities. Taishi just watches them with a soft, knowing smile, but Ren's attention snaps right back to him, his ears twitching. Our boy gets serious, kneeling down to say that just bringing rain is not enough. As he stands before the group, ready to make a hell of an offer, he officially volunteers himself and Puron to help them slay the burning giant worm. Leaving Ren absolutely speechless, a human wants to help but Taishi is dead serious, reminding them he made a promise to Nekona. And just like that, the whole crew is marching out into the desert together, with Ren barking orders to get into combat formation as they enter enemy territory. This entire squad looks ready for war, with Puron sporting the most intense game face of all. Turns out, they spent a full week getting a crash course in combat from Ren, who even taught Karin how to use a spear since she was a bit of a liability. He watches her train, the final night before the big showdown finally here. Ren starts the strategy session, basically saying listen up, no repeats, and the whole crew gathers for the world's most depressing war council, where he explains the first attack on the menu is a meteor strike. Using a little sand table, he shows the worm and its targets, which turns out to be a wide area bombardment of scorching fragments, leaving Taishi and Karin visibly rethinking their life choices right now. Ren's brilliant counter-strategy against this is to just endure it, his eyes flashing with the memory of how that has worked out before. He explains many of his comrades never made it past that opening move, with even his most seasoned fighters getting wiped out by the fiery rain. Which is why he turns to Karin and tells her she is staying in the village, period. But Karin is not about to be sidelined, refusing to back down. She fires up her aura, saying her weakness is exactly why she cannot run away, then kneels and swears she will not hold them back. Ren shuts that down, saying this is not about adding one more person, because this monster is something else entirely. A quick flash reveals its impossibly huge, terrifying form. And Taishi and Puron can only stare up, completely gobsmacked. And there it is, the burning giant worm, an absolute titan of destruction, with a massive glowing magic circle pulsing with power right behind it. That thing's mouth is just a giant drooling nightmare, and the magic circle behind it is pulsing with raw power. This has Ren and his buddy sweating absolute bullets, while Taishi and Puron are just completely frozen in terror. Karin realizes the briefing was a massive understatement, because the heat alone is almost too much to handle. She looks over at Taishi, clearly starting to panic. But Ren calls him out, saying it is okay to be scared. He gives him the classic warrior pep talk, if you have something to protect, then you fight for it. That little speech hits Taishi right where it needs to, as he remembers his promise to little Nekona, and thinks about Karin, who is right there with him. Suddenly, a cross mark appears on his forehead. And our boy goes full-on Super Saiyan, vowing to protect everyone. His eyes are glowing gold, full of pure determination. He tells Ren to stick close and they are off, this two of them charging straight at the monster. Karin watches them go, feeling a little left out of the action, but then she steels herself, ready to join the fray. Karin sprints through the dust, spear at the ready, while Ren grabs a supercharged Teishi, trying to get his attention. As our boy channels a ridiculous amount of lightning into his hands, yelling that this is their only chance before the meteor arrives. He smashes his fist right into the ground, unleashing a massive attack called Lightning of Judgment. Ren just stares, completely floored by the kid's raw power, and Teishi lands a direct, supercharged punch on the worm, except his ultimate move does absolutely nothing at all, which has Ren breaking out in a cold sweat. This worm just grins, totally unfazed by the light show, and lets out a roar that echoes across the battlefield. This is not just a roar, it is a summoning spell. As a fiery magic circle blazes to life on the sand, from it emerges a whole pack of demonic-looking hyenas, who immediately pounce on one of the desert warriors. This entire squad is suddenly getting swarmed by these new monsters, so one of them tells Ren they will hold the line, leaving the captain to make a tough call and push forward. He screams a warning to Teishi and Karin. The meteor is coming down now. Teishi's now the field commander, ordering everyone to fall back and just endure the attack, and right on cue the giant purple magic circle blazes to life, its rings of power spinning up for the world's worst light show, with the worm itself as the epicenter summoning a whole halo of death portals. Out comes the first scorching meteor right on schedule. And suddenly the whole sky is just a storm of fireballs raining down. One of the warriors throws up a shield, but it is clearly not enough, as explosions start carpeting the entire battlefield in fire. This sheer force of the blast is just completely overwhelming, forcing two cat warriors to combine their magic for a desperate shield, while Karin is caught in the crossfire, barely holding on. Someone's boots are shaking and you cannot really blame them. But Teishi pushes through it, screaming for Puron to throw up a barrier for everyone. And little Puron goes full-on serious mode, ready to answer the call. It unleashes a massive golden shield enveloping the entire squad, leaving one of the warriors completely stunned by the sudden gooey protection. He is amazed, realizing he cannot even feel the heat anymore, and even Ren is shocked, seeing the little slime's true power. He gives Puron a gruff "thanks for saving us, you little runt," classic. But his relief vanishes as he realizes this attack is way stronger than ever before. Ren realizes the worm is finally getting serious, as the fiery bombardment just keeps hammering down on them. Karin is barely holding her ground against the constant shockwaves, telling herself to just wait for Ren's signal to counterattack. But the ground beneath her feet suddenly cracks wide open, sending her plummeting straight down into a dark chasm. She is completely bewildered by the sudden drop, not even time to scream. Teishi hears a cry and whips around in pure panic, frantically searching for Karin in the smoke and fire. He is absolutely losing his mind, screaming her name, and just like that his battle focus is completely shattered, all while the meteor storm continues to tear up the landscape, which has Ren confused, wondering what that scream was about. He turns to Teishi, demanding to know what is going on. But even the captain cannot see a thing through the blinding explosions. This whole battlefield is just a swirling vortex of destruction, and in the middle of it all Teishi is just frozen solid. He's just staring into the dust, completely despondent. Ren sees this and realizes their ace just lost his will to fight perfect. Meanwhile, the worm's magic circles are already flaring up for another attack. Ren tries to get a grip, telling himself they have to stop the worm first. Deciding on a last-ditch gamble he is not even sure will work, but his buddy beats him to it, yelling for Teishi to cover his attack on the magic circle, only to see our boy is still just a zombie standing in the sand. Even Puron's worried chirps cannot snap Teishi out of his funk. Ren is absolutely furious, muttering this is why he told Karin to stay behind. As if on cue, another meteor comes screaming down from the sky, impacting right next to the cat warrior in a huge explosion. He gets thrown back by the shockwave, grunting that it is no time to complain. With no other options, he digs his heels in and starts powering up, gathering a ball of light in his hand, hoping for the best. He commits to the attack, ready to give it everything he has got. His spear slams into the ground, summoning a massive pillar of lightning, and the warrior becomes a conduit of pure, crackling energy. That lightning shoots skyward, branching out into dozens of tendrils, which then morph into an entire volley of glowing energy spears. He leaps into the air, leading the charge himself, spear pointed forward. As the entire barrage converges on its target, this worm just watches it come, looking bored out of its mind, and the full force of the attack slams right into its magic circle, a direct hit. This magic circle starts to crack and shatter under the strain, completely overloading from the sheer force of the attack. As the energy spears continue to hammer the worm's hide, and for all that effort the worm is just mildly annoyed. Ren's buddy still thinks it might have worked, bless his heart, so he turns to his last resort, yelling at the yellow runt, begging Puron to stop the worm's movement for just a moment. Puron is understandably confused by the sudden field promotion, still clinging to a completely zoned-out Teishi, but hearing its name is what finally snaps our boy out of it. With a new fire in its eyes, Puron hops down, ready for its moment, stretching itself out like a very determined, gooey noodle. This little guy then launches itself straight at the giant monster, giving it a look of pure, unadulterated "you messed up." This worm just watches the tiny yellow speck flying towards it, opening its mouth for what has to be the easiest meal of its life. Suddenly, Puron starts glowing with an insane amount of blue energy. unleashing a massive point-blank blast right down the worm's throat. This cat warrior gets thrown back by the sheer force of the explosion, and he just stares, completely speechless at the slime's true power. This worm is completely encased in Puron's ice attack frozen solid, a high-tier skill called Absolute Zero that stops it dead in its tracks. His buddies in the back are losing their minds over this, totally stunned. And Puron just floats there looking smug as hell, mission accomplished. Even the gruff cat warrior has to give it up, calling the yellow runt a hero. With the monster immobilized, he grips his spear, seeing their one chance, powering up his own ultimate move and yelling that he will finish this. He looks back at his squad, telling them he is counting on their support, and one of them shouts back a confident Roger. This entire team of cat warriors now surrounds the frozen beast, ready for an all-out assault. His grip tightens on his weapon, channeling all his power into this one strike, before he leaps into the air for a devastating downward thrust. This attack is for all their fallen comrades, a final act of vengeance, and with a roar he promises to make the worm pay for everything. His move, Crust Piercer, is meant to shatter the very earth beneath it, slamming into the ice with incredible force and cracking the frozen shell. But instead of the worm, a giant blue gemstone emerges from the wreckage. This cat warrior is completely baffled, wondering what the hell this thing is, as his spear tip touches the gem, causing it to glow intensely. Suddenly, a blue light travels up his arm and he just stares at his fist, confused. This blue energy surges up his arm from the gem, a very unexpected power-up, and he knows the ice is breaking, giving him one last chance to strike. As the mysterious gemstone just pulses with an otherworldly light. Too late, the worm shatters its icy prison, roaring back with a fiery vengeance, lunging down to turn our cat warrior into a bite-sized snack. This guy can only stare up in horror, completely out of moves, and the monster slams into the ground with earth-shattering force, but Puron zips in at the last second, becoming a life-saving jello shield. He owes the yellow runt again, even managing to learn its name this time, Progress. But something's off, the worm's power feels totally different, and that gem is new. Which can only mean one thing, that this gemstone is the key to the whole fight, a discovery made mid-pummeling.